of us to sit on the service table to help moderate this workshop. Permit me at this moment to invite the Vicar General Administration of the Diocese, Very Reverend Father Donatus Udoite, to come forward to the high table. I think if he can clap, he will come out immediately. The Lord is good. I also want to invite the Director of the Justice, Development and Peace Commission of the Diocese, Very Reverend Father Dominic Akpakpan, to join here at the service table. Because you are clapping, Father Udoite has appeared. Vicar General Administration of the Diocese, Very Reverend Father Donatus Udoite. Please, Father, come here up to the service table. Father Dominic Abakban is doing the ushering, while also ushering himself to the table. I'll invite for the opening prayer Reverend Father Anthony Timothy. Before Father Anthony Timothy comes up for the opening prayer, our lecturer, Reverend Father Edidion Ekefre, is here. Please come up to the high table.
We rise. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer. Heavenly Father, we gather here today as your beloved children, united by a common purpose to serve and uplift our brothers and sisters, especially those who are migrants and refugees. We thank you for the gift of this beautiful day. We thank you for the gift of life and the gift of good health, and for the call to serve one another as your children. As we gather here, we ask for your guidance and wisdom as we discuss ways to support, to advocate for, and to bring hope to those displaced by circumstances beyond their control. Fill our hearts with compassion, understanding, and humility to serve. Open our eyes to see their struggles and pains, and our heart to respond with kindness. Bless the work of this workshop and every participant, and may all our efforts be rooted in your love and be guided by your Spirit, so that we may be effective instruments of your love and mercy in the world. We pray also for the safety and protection of all the migrants and refugees. May they find comfort, security, and protection in their journeys. Bless us with your presence, and may this gathering inspire us to serve with renewed zeal and commitment, knowing that in serving the least of these, we serve Christ himself. For we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much, Father Timothy, for that opening prayer. Immediately, with due respect, I'll invite the Director of the JDPC for a brief opening remarks. And after the remarks of the Director of JDPC, the Vicar General would give a keynote.
Bishop of our Diocese, Most Reverend Dr. John Ebebeaya in absentia, the Vicar General Administration, Very Reverend Father Dr. Odoite, dear fathers, dear sisters, brothers and sisters, good morning to you all. May the name of the Lord be blessed both now and forevermore. I am honored and privileged to make this opening remark, perhaps on the basis of the affiliation and synergy that the Migrants and Refugee Commission, MRC, shares with Justice, Development and Peace Commission, JDPC. As a matter of fact, MRC is an offshoot of JDPC. It is a recent development, a newly created unit under the Department of Church and Society of the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria. However, given the administrative structure and operational dynamics of this Department of Church and Society, the responsibility or key function with which this new unit is saddled is not completely new. It has been one of the areas of intervention prioritized by JDPC over the years in our efforts to propagate and promote the social teachings of the church through her humanitarian and social services. By implication, the responsibility to care for, to support, and to protect the fundamental human rights of the refugees, the internally displaced persons, and even those who are victims of human trafficking, and also the responsibility to create awareness, to sensitize our people on this sociological evil called the human trafficking, have been part and parcel of what we do in JDPC. But because of the increase in the number of migrants, refugees, and even people seeking asylum in Nigeria, and because also of the sensitivity of this responsibility, the Catholic Bishop Conference of Nigeria has, in our own wisdom, decided to create a new unit and to shift this responsibility to that unit so that members of this unit will be able to pay close attention to the challenges, the difficulties, the dehumanizing situation or circumstance that our brothers and sisters, the victims of human trafficking, are facing. So today we have gathered as a family to see what we can do to play our own role. Remember, as it is often said, or as the Latin adage has it, nemo dat quod non habet. No one can give to another person what he or she does not have. As the leaders of God's people, we have a moral obligation to enlighten those Christ has entrusted to our own care. We may not be able to help them. We may not be able to save them from the shackle of this, circumstance if we ourselves are not properly enlightened. That is the more reason we are gathered here. This very unit, the migrants and the refugee unit, is not just an isolated whole. It is rather a collection of functionaries and also beneficiaries and the will-be beneficiaries. And permit me to say this, all of us seated in this hall, in fact, every Nigerian citizen, all of us are beneficiaries or will be beneficiaries of this very unit. We are beneficiaries in the sense that we are potential migrants. We are potential migrants, potential refugees, and potential victims of what? Human trafficking. We know in Nigeria of today, we are living in a state of uncertainty. A state of uncertainty because of insecurity and crimes that are being committed with impunity. A few days back, we heard what happened in Jelewata, Benue State, and what had been happening in Benue State all this while. What happened in Benue State can happen anywhere. It can happen here in Akwa Ibom State. So nobody's really served. But then, as it is often said in Ibiba prophet, when an injured person is already aware of an impending war, it may be difficult for that war to consume him because he will find a way to run away from it. So if we are properly equipped with knowledge, Francis Bacon will tell us knowledge is power. When one has a proper and deeper knowledge about the existence of a given reality, the person is already in charge of that reality. You are in charge of it. You can make some basic decisions about it, and you can either utilize or manipulate the information you have for your own good and for the good of others. So we are coming here for this intellectual banquet to be furnished with the proper knowledge about the function of this very unit. And not only knowing about the functions of this very unit, we try as much as possible, having acquired the knowledge, to translate the knowledge that we have into actions that can positively impact on the lives of our brothers and sisters, especially those who are already caught in the web of these ungodly and dehumanizing circumstances. We still have to make sure that we put our hands together to fight this evil. We may say that it is the responsibility of the government, but I want to say it is not just the responsibility of the government alone. After all, the government is not even helping matters. I'm sorry to say this. The law enforcement, even if they know their job, are they ready to do it? I know we are not the one to completely stop these atrocities happening in our own society, but we have a role to play. We have a role to play. And what is that role? We need to help one or another. We cannot help our brothers and sisters out there. We cannot sensitize them if we ourselves are not properly informed. So that is the essence of our workshop. That is the essence of this intellectual banquet. I want on this basis to enjoin each and every one of us to take the discussion that we shall be having very seriously and try the very much we can after this workshop to translate what we have learned, the knowledge we have exchanged, the knowledge we have acquired into positive actions to the greater glory of God and for the edification of the church. Thanks so much for having me.
I think we can be more generous with our clap. Father Apakpan has just reminded us that we are critical stakeholders in the case for migrants and refugees and the fight in curbing human trafficking. Please, let's clap again for him. Before I invite the Vicar General, permit me please to invite the coordinator of the Migrants and Refugee Units, Reverend Father Emmanuel Umodio, to help in the introductions, please.
Thank you. Good morning, fathers. Good morning, fathers and sisters and dearest brothers and sisters. My function is very simple. I just want to go straight to the point to introduce to you the executive members of the Uyo Diocesan Migrant and Refugee Unit. Reverend Father Emmanuel Benomodio, I'm the coordinator, and we have as Deputy Coordinator 1, Dr. Onyekbeno Elijah from St. Anthony's Parish, Ewet Housing. We have Mr. Iberedem Hilary KSM, Deputy Coordinator 2. Thank you so much. We also have Mrs. Agnes Vincent Akpan, Secretary General. She's coming forward. We have Dr. Ekomobasi Gordian. Dr. Ekomobasi Gordian. She's the Treasurer. We have Sister Philomena Oku. She's the Sister Advisor. Please, Sister. We also have Honorable Chris E. Udofia, the General Advisor to the group. We have Mr. Iberedem Akpan, Assistant Secretary, is coming forward, and we have Mr. Michael Thompson as the Provost. So here are the team members that we are working together All of us are working together, and I hereby present them. Thank you so much, and God bless you. I also seize this opportunity to welcome you to this workshop. May God bless you as you come, and we promise that it's going to be very refreshing and also very interesting. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you very much, Father, for formally welcoming us and presenting the officers of the unit. At this moment, permit me to respectfully invite the Vicar General Administration and Parish Priest of Sacred Heart Accra, Very Reverend Father Donatus Udoite, for his keynote address.
My Lord Bishop in absentia, the organizers of this function, my brother priest, the reverend sisters present, and our dear lay faithful. I don't really know how I will title what I'm going to say. If it serves as a keynote address, fine. If it serves as a paper presentation, fine. Because it was just yesterday that I was asked to make a few comments to advance our discussion this morning on issues concerning migration, refugees, and human trafficking with regard to the role of the unit of the church dealing with these societal problems. My presentation, in fact, would better serve as a verbal opening remarks than paper presentation. But be it as it may, I hereby present to you my extremely rushed, random thoughts and jottings on the topic under discussion. I'm aware that many of us are better equipped and informed concerning the issue at hand. And this is why I'm confident that you are there to fill the gaps and supply the missing links in whatever I'm going to say. Migration, refugees, and human trafficking is a phenomenon of the human history. Over the years, historians, as well as ethnologists, sociologists, cultural anthropologists, archaeologists, and other scholars from other disciplines have testified to the fact that migration, refugees, and human trafficking is a phenomenon of human history. In biblical times, for instance, the patriarch Abraham migrated from Ur of the Chaldeans to Haran and eventually settled in Canaan, where God made a covenant with him to prosper him and make his offspring as many as the sand on the shores of the sea. The book of Genesis chapter 12 verse 1 through 4 documents that God told Abraham to leave his country, his people, and his father's household and go to the land that he was to show him, where God would make of him a great nation, where God would bless him and make his name great. In the same way, Joseph became a migrant and victim of human trafficking, having been sold by his brothers to the Midianites, who in turn sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials. As the iron cogwheel of history turned in favor of Joseph, he became a senior administrative officer in Egypt and eventually saved his family from starvation and death. In like manner, Moses was born to Hebrew parents Amram and Jochebed in Egypt during the time of Israelite enslavement. After killing an Egyptian for beating up a Hebrew slave, Moses became a refugee in Midian. And when he encountered God at the burning bush at the foot of Mount Sinai, he took up the mantle of leadership of the Israelites and wandered in the desert with them for many years up to the threshold of the promised land. In the New Testament, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus were also caught in the web of migration when they escaped Herod's persecution and became refugees in the land of Egypt. Aquila and Priscilla, who were St. Paul's friends, were also refugees in Corinth, having been forced to leave Rome in AD 49 on account of the edict of Emperor Claudius. Time and space may not permit us to mention other instances of migrations, refuge seeking, and human trafficking in the Bible. In our contemporary society, the problems posed by migration, refugees, and human trafficking have taken a different turn due to a number of factors. Some of these factors include global terrorism, communal clashes, wars, unstable governments, violence, religious persecution, climatic factors, bad governance, and so on. In 2022, an estimated number of 3,098,404 internally displaced persons were recorded in Nigeria. Out of this number, 375,552 were displaced due to communal clashes and conflicts, while 24,366 were displaced by climatic factors, including floods, insurgency in the northeast, herders, farmers' clashes, and sundry factors. It is on record that Nigeria hosts an alarming number of refugees and asylum seekers, most of them coming not only from northern Nigeria, but also from Cameroon, Niger, Democratic Republic of Congo, Syria, Sudan, and Central African Republic. Although the Nigerian government has tried to assist migrants and refugees through the Nigerian government, through the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, and by establishing camps to settle internally displaced persons, government effort is both insufficient and at other times sabotaged by the very people who are charged with the responsibility of helping these unfortunate individuals. Most times, the money voted for the assistance of these victims are only on paper and never used to assist them in their plight. Moreover, globally coordinated terrorist activities, banditry, herder-farmer clashes, and so on have continued to render the lives of migrants and refugees unbearable, even in the camps where they have been settled. Herders, bandits, terrorists, and jihadists, is particularly a clearing example. As we speak, it is on the news that they point to the real situation on ground. The bottom line and forced labor taking the lead. Herder farmers crisis, terrorism, and neo-jihadist movements have continually fueled this societal menace. Now let us look at the church's unit for migrants and refugees. The Catholic Church has always been at the forefront of assisting vulnerable persons, including the poor, migrants, refugees, and trafficked individuals. Firmly rooted in sacred scripture and guided by our teachings on human dignity, compassion, and social justice, the Church has had a long history of giving support to these unfortunate people. The Bible has documented a lot about God's love and protection towards migrants and refugees, emphasizing their vulnerability and the need for protection. The letter to the Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 2, enjoins Christians thus: do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for some have shown hospitality to angels without knowing. Christians are thus called to reflect God's heart for migrants and refugees, showing compassion at all times to needy persons. There are many units and organizations in the Catholic Church that have been formed to address issues concerning vulnerable persons in the society. The Pontifical Council for the pastoral care of migrants and itinerant people, for example, is a department in the Vatican responsible for guiding the Church's response to migration and refugee issues, promoting pastoral care and advocacy. Caritas International is a confederation of Catholic relief, development, and social service organizations operating in over 200 countries, aimed at providing assistance to migrants, refugees, and other vulnerable persons. Other organizations of this nature include those at local levels formed by particular churches to come to the aid of these unfortunate individuals. For example, the Catholic Relief Service was formed by the Catholic community in the United States to provide assistance to migrants, refugees, and other vulnerable persons worldwide. And then the Jesuits Refugee Service was formed by the Jesuits to accompany, serve, and advocate for refugees, forcefully displaced persons, and asylum seekers. The role of the Migrants and Refugee Unit in Uyo Diocese. As far as the role of the Migrants and Refugee Unit in Uyo Diocese is concerned, the template for their modus operandi has already been streamlined by the Universal Church as well as the local church, also giving them what might be described as their terms of reference. It is, however, pertinent to underline a few points. Number one, the first thing to be taken seriously by this unit in Uyo Diocese is to undertake a radical advocacy down to the grassroots level to enlighten the people on the menace of migrants, refugees, and human trafficking. Many people do not know about the existence of this unit in the church and therefore need to be educated. The radical advocacy that is required will only be possible if this unit is established in all parishes and deaneries across Uyo Diocese. And for this to be successful, parish priests, and indeed all priests in their respective areas of apostolate, have to enlighten the people on the subject matter and also constitute parochial bodies that will work hand in hand with the main diocesan body. To further enhance the efficacy of the advocacy, it will also be important to organize seminars and workshops such as this one, not only at the parochial or ordinary levels, but also in the diocese from time to time to update the people on current issues and challenges involving migrants and refugees in the diocese. Two, the need for holistic approach. The apostolate of the Migrants and Refugees Unit in Uyo Diocese calls for an integral and holistic approach. Migrants, refugees, trafficked persons, and other vulnerable individuals will not only need physical and material support, but also spiritual as well as pastoral assistance. Some of the victims will obviously require medical and psychological assistance, sometimes including accommodation, feeding, skill acquisition, and provision of means of sustenance. 3, collaboration with the diocesan JDPC. The unit cannot work in isolation from the Diocesan Justice, Development, and Peace Commission. There is no doubt that the concerns of the JDPC, to a large extent, are also the concerns of the Migrants and Refugees Unit. It will be important, therefore, for the two diocesan bodies to collaborate, organize joint meetings, seminars, and workshops from time to time in order to share experiences, identify common challenges, and also seek solutions to their common problems and difficulties. 4, collaboration with the daughters or the Congregation of Mission, the Vincentians, and then also with the St. Vincent de Paul Society. The Migrants and Refugees Unit also needs to collaborate with these bodies, as mentioned, at parochial as well as diocesan levels. As in the case of JDPC, St. Vincent de Paul, for instance, was established to cater for the needs of the vulnerable and less privileged persons, and also shares the concerns of the Migrants and Refugee Unit as well as the JDPC. So collaboration with them will make the work of the 3 units easier, more effective, and productive. 5, collaboration with the Catholic lawyers. There is no doubt that in the course of discharging its duties and responsibilities, the migrants and the refugees unit, as well as the JDPC, will come face to face with legal issues. This is where the Catholic lawyers in the diocese will have to come to the rescue. Unfortunately, the National Association of Catholic Lawyers in Uyo is not making any impact from inception, and majority of the lawyers seem not to be interested in attending meetings and coming out with legal blueprints that would be of help to Uyo Diocese. Finally, I call for collaboration with government. The migrants and refugee unit needs to collaborate with government. In order to successfully carry out its apostolate, the unit has to seek support from government, including but not limited to financial and material support. The Ministry of Women Affairs, as well as NAPTIP, has to be aware of the efforts of the church in coming to the assistance of vulnerable persons. Working in isolation from government may not produce expected results. I want to conclude with a caveat. Let me conclude by sounding a caveat that members of this unit have to be extremely careful and alert with regards to those they assist. Just as the so-called repentant Boko Haram members have been incorporated into the Nigerian army, or who have been incorporated into the Nigerian army, have turned around to be informants and intelligence gatherers for terrorists, thus jeopardizing the security of the nation. Dangerous men and women could also infiltrate, masquerading as victims of trafficking or as migrants or refugees. They could infiltrate and present themselves as migrants, refugees, and so on, in need of assistance, with the intention of spying on the church for possible terrorist attack. I thank the bishop and the organizers of this workshop for giving me the opportunity to share my random thoughts on the topic under discussion. I trust that you will supply the missing links and whatever needs to be known that is not captured in this paper. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Father Udoite. He had taken us through biblical history on migration, highlighting factors affecting migrants, bad governance, communal conflicts, climatic factors, etc., and also proffered on collaborative advocacy to curb the menace affecting migrants and trafficking. Thank you very much, Father. Can we clap again for Father Udoite? Before I invite the lecturer, permit me to recognize a very powerful champion for migrants and refugees and a strong advocate for anti-human trafficking. Reverend Sister Professor Antonia Essen, Deputy Vice Chancellor, University of Uyo. Please, I will not allow you to just sit. Sister, please just come up and make some remarks. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Please permit me to stand on the protocol that has been very carefully established to share a few remarks on this issue of human trafficking. Because by the special grace of God, I've been involved very deeply in the anti-trafficking movement since 2022, just a few years ago. And within these few years, what we have discovered is shocking. The rate at which people are being trafficked. Before, we used to think it was far away, maybe in Edo State and Benin and all those areas, but it has come so very close to us. So when we started this work of sensitizing people in the villages, in rural communities, it was amazing the number of people we discovered. To the glory of God, we were instrumental in rescuing over 24 victims of human trafficking. And also to the glory of God, 6 traffickers were also arrested. And I'm very sad to tell us that one of the traffickers happened to be a consecrated person. Very, very sad. And right now, she and her group are cooling their feet in the correctional center at Ikorekbene. Our God is always there to support us. She was running an orphanage, and behind that, a lot of things was going on. In fact, I was very shocked because when we started the work and the trafficker that was arrested here in Uyo told us one of us was involved. Not a handmaid, please. One of us was involved. We thought it was a joke until the commissioner of police, the deputy governor was very involved until she was arrested. And we could see that behind what was seemingly a good thing, things were going on. That means our eyes have to be very, very open. Bishops, superiors of communities, we have to check what is happening. And I think we all have to be involved in sensitization. Thank God I came in and listened to Very Reverend Father Dr. Odoete speak. We have to be all involved. We have to involve our parishioners. We have to sensitize people because the tricks that these traffickers use is sometimes very, very amazing. The promise of good life, the promise of good things to come, and at the end of the day, none of those things are possible. And so I thank God that in the midst of all this, we were able to rescue these victims. Some of them are with us in our orphanage, and some of them have been reunited with their families. And the chilling stories they tell us means that we have to be involved. A very fine mass saver at a cathedral at Ikorekbene was also trafficked, but with the grace of God, the organization or International Organization of Immigrants, they were able to rescue him at Burkina Faso. So the story is very deep. But all we need to do is to sensitize people, to tell people that traffickers are everywhere, even within the family. And the network is amazing. The police were able to arrest these traffickers at different times and different places. But at the end of the day, their confessional stories showed that they were deeply connected with each other. So I think what we need to do as priests and religious is to let people be aware. It is no longer safe. Please, we have to tell families it's no longer safe to send a child to cross over to the road to buy ogi or pap for the family. One of the cases we had, 11-year-old child, the mother said, please cross over to the road and buy akara for the family. That was the end of it. But we thank God that we're able to arrest. So parental care, we need to really tell parents to be careful. And children coming back from school alone, no matter how near, it may not be as safe as it used to be. So these are the things we need to share with our parishioners, with our friends, with families, that the traffickers is so much. The story I'm telling you about of the consecrated person who was involved in trafficking 2 of the children that have been rescued, you can imagine how lucrative it is for them. She says she sold one of the children at 1.7 and the other one at 1.7. That is, in no time, she was able to get 3.4 million, but then it didn't lead her anywhere. So you can see how lucrative, I think Father Dorothy mentioned that to us, it's really true, how lucrative they consider it to be. But I thank God that so far, just within 3 years, the handmaids have been able to facilitate the rescue of so many children and 6 traffickers. And once we get them, we have to report them directly. In fact, when we work with the police commissioner, it makes things easy. Because if the police commissioner and the deputy governor of our state were not involved, I'm sure the case wouldn't have been as it was, because we got to the root of it. So I was just asked to share my experience. I want to tell us that it is very real, and it is just within us. And we all need to work together. We all need to cooperate. We need to tell people what is happening around us. It's no longer business as usual. It's a very lucrative business, as I have said. They sell these children at so much. If I were to present a paper, I would have taken us through all the children we have rescued and what has happened. And I also want to inform us, some of the children are happy so being trafficked because they believe that it will be good out there. They are very happy. So one of them we rescued. By the time we went back to settle her, she had run away again, that it will be better there. So some of them believe that it is good. That's why we have a lot of work to do as priests and religious. So thank you very much. Let me share my experience that it is around the corner, it's within us, and it is too much. Thank you.
You now understand why I didn't allow sister to sit. I needed her to talk because I know she has been championing this issue. Thank you very much, Sister Professor Antonia Sen. God bless you for your contributions. Immediately, we will listen to our first presenter, but I will take 30 seconds to make us know who this person is and prepare us to listen to him. Edidion Ekefre is a Nigerian Catholic priest and a historian. Apart from being a parish priest, he is a lecturer of history and international studies at Akwa Ibom State University, Nigeria. He holds a doctorate degree in history from the University of the Witwatersrand, South Africa. His research areas include migration, refugee, and humanitarian studies in post-colonial Africa, focusing on the West and Central African sub-regions. His PhD thesis was on the Catholic Church in the Nigerian Civil War, 1967 to 1970. His recent articles include Hosting Biafran Child Refugee, the Inter-African Refugee and International Humanitarian Network System during the Nigerian Civil War, the Catholic Church and the Biafran refugee crisis during the Nigerian Civil War, published in the International Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences. So many publications. Very Reverend Father, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, ladies and gentlemen, permit me at this moment to invite a notable scholar, a priest of the Roman Catholic Church, Reverend Father Edidion Ekefre, to talk to us. I think if you clap, it will do us a whole lot of good.
Permit me to begin by first recognizing the Catholic Bishop of Uyo, Most Reverend Dr. John Aya, in absentia. I also wish to quickly recognize the Vicar General Administration, who has just finished talking to us, and then also my academic superior, Reverend Sister Professor Antonia Sen, distinguished priests, Reverend Sisters, all religious here present, and every other person. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a brief of my experience in the field of refugee and humanitarian studies with you. Permit me to seek your permission not to go to the podium. Let me just sit where I am, and permit me also to make use of my laptop so that we can follow the slide in piecemeal. The topic of our discussion is on the dynamics of refugees and migration. The dynamics of refugee and migration trends in Nigeria in particular, faith-based intervention, and the Nigerian church. And the choice of this topic is to help us understand not just the meaning of the word refugee, not just the meaning of the term or concept of migration, but also to look at how this has developed in Nigeria over the years. Apart from looking at the Nigerian dynamics of it, we also particularly look at the faith-based intervention. As we progress, I will give a more detailed explanation on what I mean by faith-based intervention. But when we talk about faith-based intervention, you have to understand that in the empire of humanity, the very first foundation of reaching out to those in need is religion. So religion is principally the foundation for which every other humanitarian activity has its root. And this is confirmed by the author Michael Bennett in his work, Empire of Humanity. Now, quickly looking at our own understanding in recent times, we consider that globally, we have about 122 million displaced people all over the world. And in the midst of this, out of this, we have 31 million people living as refugees. And when we talk about refugees in this context, we are talking about those who are registered, not illegal settlers. And as we proceed with our definition for a better understanding of the concept of refugee, we'll get to know who is a refugee, who is not a refugee, who is an asylum seeker, and who is a migrant. As of 2015, we had about 1.6 million or 16 million refugees globally. But in the past 10 years, this number has increased, almost double what we had 10 years ago. This implies that the number continues to grow, and it will continue to grow as long as the world continues to live in conflict. And something we need to understand about human migration is that we are all migrants. We are all moving from one place to another. If you go back to the story of your ancestors, you realize that where you claim to come from now, your ancestors came from somewhere. They settled there, and then they had their own land and call it their own. And this is what we call the push and pull theory in human migration. In every circumstance, there should be something that draws somebody to a particular place. And there should be something that pushes somebody out of a particular place. Let me just give you a story of the Mbube people in northern Cross River State. In my recent research, I come to realize that those people migrated from Central African Republic, and then they had their own place in Cameroon at some point before migrating to the present state, Cross River State. And how did they have their way? It was as a result of conflict that brought up the rising of Shaka Zulu, and that conflict was called Mfekane. We also have the story of Yala people of Cross River State, how they migrated and they settled there. They came in from Idoma land, and what they were hunters, but what drew them to where they are settling today is the source that they found in that place. So you now see the theory of migration coming into play. Something has to draw somebody to a particular place to settle. For us here, we have the story of Efik people as they migrated out of Akwa and settled in the present-day part of what we call Calabar. And it was as a result of a fight, what we call, and when I say anyone, two women fighting, having conflict over an axe. And at the end of the day, it became a communal conflict that pushed the Efik people out. We also have the story of how our own people, Ibibio people, migrated down to where we are today, moving away from Arochukwu, where they settled briefly. And the story can continue on. But we will not exhaust it today. It's just for us to understand that we are all migrants. As religious believers, we also need to understand that even our stay here in this world demands that tomorrow we shall leave and another shall take our place. But then, one of the crises that is facing the world today is this refugee crisis. And let me ask, what is refugee, or who is a refugee? Now, if you look at the 1951 Geneva Convention for refugees, it was the European countries that came together. And when they came together in Geneva, they decided to coin a definition of refugees, because sometimes people would just wake up and say, I am a refugee. So the question is, who is a refugee? And what is it that qualifies somebody to be termed as a refugee? So this Geneva Convention of 1951, Article 1 says, a refugee is someone who, owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, member of a particular race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion, is outside the country of his nationality and is unable or, owing to such fear, is unwilling to avail himself of the protection of that country. In essence, when, as a result of all these different kinds of persecutions, your country can no more grant you protection. And who, on having a nationality and being outside the country of his former habitual residence, as a result of such events, is unable or, owing to such fear, is unwilling to return to his country. So whenever you find yourself in a situation like where we have the Benue crisis of today, if a Benue person leaves this country, because for me, this country is not able to protect the innocent civilians that are being killed in Benue State. So if a Benue person finds himself in Cameroon, he has the right to file for refugee identity. And once he does that, he is no more property or a person, a citizen, is still a citizen of Nigeria, but he secures international protection. And the organization that is in charge of such protection is an organization known as, abbreviated as UNCA, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. And it may interest you to know that this workshop is quite timely. Today is 18th of June, and 2 days from now, on the 20th of June, we are going to have World Refugee Day. And the theme for this year is solidarity with refugees. And that calls for, it's a clarion call for attention to these people. Now, we just given the United Nations definition of the term refugee, but it will be good for us to also streamline it to our own African setting, because when that definition was given by the UN as of 1951, no African country was represented. And as of 1969, at the climax of the Nigerian Civil War, the UNCA refused to intervene in the Nigerian refugee crisis. Their argument was clear that the refugees in Nigeria were Nigerians in Nigeria because they did not see Biafra as a separate country. So for them, Nigerian crisis did not fit into their own, what I may describe as shallow definition of refugee. So that is why the African countries now came together and decided to do what? Give a definition of refugee. Now before then, let me also point out that the same UN, they made effort to clarify their standpoint, because the shortcoming in the UN definition of refugee is that it was only applied to people who were affected by the crisis in Europe before 1951, particularly the the World War II. And also they limited it geographically to those in Europe. So when African countries came in and began to gain independence, they now decided to remove the geographical barrier and the chronological barrier. And having removed those two, it was not still okay for Africans. So we had in 1969 what we call the OAU Convention. And this OAU Convention now went further to say that the term refugee shall also, now note that the OAU, African Union as we have them today, did not come to abolish the UN standpoint. Rather, they came to do what? They came to fulfill it. And they added to what the UN had already given to us by saying that that term shall also apply to every person who, owing to external aggression, that is, if it is affected by some forces outside your country of origin, external aggression, occupation, foreign domination. And this term, the use of foreign domination, was made also to cover even Africans who were having problems with their colonial masters. Around this time, Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe was fighting seriously against white domination. Nelson Mandela was fighting seriously against apartheid regime. And when they were attacked, they ran to other African countries. When they applied for refugee status, they refused them because they said that their country is not at war, but their country was hostile to them. So this definition was made to accommodate such events, or events seriously disturbing public order. Now take note of this: events seriously disturbing public order in either part or the whole of that country. Now you can see that the people of Benue State now are qualified to be called refugees in their own country based on the OAU extension. And it also says such a person is compelled to leave his place of habitual residence in order to seek refuge in another place outside his country of origin or nationality. So that was the wisdom of the likes of Thabo Mbeki, Haile Selassie, and other African leaders who came together to redefine the standpoints of our own people. Now, it has to be understood that refugees have what we call international protection. Recently, I have been working on the Anglophone Cameroonian refugees in a place known as Gembu in Taraba State. It's a very beautiful place to be. The weather, the climatic condition is like being in America. And the terrain is very hilly. But, you know, that place is overcrowded because most refugees, most Anglophone Cameroonians who are being attacked by the ancient Paul Biya's regime are running to that place to take refuge. And the Nigerian government is not helping matters. As of 2018 or thereabout, about 10 of them were called to Abuja for dialogue with the government. And by the time they arrived there, Nigerian government handed them over to the Cameroonian government, breaching the refugee protection rights of those individuals. Some of them are still calling for justice till today, and that is the level of when politics overshadows a sense of justice. But just to tell you how much these people are being entitled to national and international protection, how much more we ourselves, individuals, being able to reach out to them. Let us just look at the next point by let us look at the definition of migrant. Who is a migrant? The same, the office of the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights tells us that a migrant is any person who is outside a state of which they are a citizen or national, or in the case of a stateless person, their state of birth or habitual residence. Now, I'm sure someone can jot down so that maybe when during question and answer you can ask me who is a stateless person, or how can somebody become a stateless person. And if I forget to answer well, remember that we have the crisis in Rohingya crisis in Myanmar, and most of them have no state. We also had issues in Bakassi here, as we are going to look at it later. And when the Bakassi was given to Cameroon, most of the people that settled there were neither Nigerians nor Cameroons. So automatically, they became stateless persons. So a migrant is thereby used as a neutral term to describe a group of persons or people who have in common a lack of citizenship attached to their host communities. In essence, if you are here and you are not a citizen of this Nigeria, then you are what? A migrant. So all refugees are migrants, but not all migrants are refugees. We have to understand these key differences. And we also need to understand that this definition goes without prejudice to the protection regimes that exist under international law for specific legal categories of people, such as refugees, stateless persons, trafficked persons, and migrant workers. All these terms are things that we should have at our fingertips when we are considering refugees. Now, this also reminds me, in my research on the Cameroonian refugees in Gembu, I realized that there are many Cameroonians who stay in Nigeria, who were in Nigeria, they have business in Nigeria before the time of the crisis. And when the crisis happened, they rushed in and collect their citizen refugee identity, merging with their own original identity card in order to benefit from whatever windfall comes down from the refugee stuff. And the same thing is applicable. Many Nigerians who are bona fide Nigerians, staying in Nigerians, also share their names and also have refugee identity. So that when the UN comes to see the refugees, as long as you have your card, whether you are a Nigerian or a Cameroon, and you are just a migrant or a citizen of Nigeria, you are also sharing. So at the end of the day, most of the refugees themselves do not benefit from what comes, because those who are not refugees but are pagers, what I may call fringe beneficiaries of this refugee regimes, turn out to a kind of benefit even more than refugees themselves. So, but we need to understand that whether you are a refugee or a migrant, you have what we call vulnerable. Most of them are in vulnerable situations. So most often migrants, victims of crimes. So it is our role to ensure that most of them are victims of crimes, and when they don't have the right papers to sue you to court. What I'm experiencing in Taraba State is that when these people do not have the capacity to sue you to court, you see how the host community members become hostile to them. They now turn around to humiliate them, steal from them, and sometimes sell land to them and turn that around and sell the same land to another person, knowing that a refugee will not have the money to fight them under the Nigerian judiciary system. But I thank God for what we call the Jesuit Relief Services. They are really working hard to make sure that any refugee who has such a crisis, such a problem, reports to that agency. They are working hand in hand with the UN, and they have their own lawyers. In some way, they assist in making these guys have their own justice. So they also become victims of torture in transit. For example, if you see, when I was from the Gembu down to Jalingo, you don't have much problem. But from Jalingo down to Ogoja, over every now and then, they will bring out all of us and search us. Sometimes, if they saw that you are a Cameroonian, they will search you even to your pants. And trust Nigerian system, sometimes even when they catch this Cameroonian that is trying to come into Nigeria without having a refugee identity, they will collect money and let you go. And in most cases, that is how they identify these people. That is when I realized that when they want to know who is a Cameroonian and who is a Nigerian, for you Nigerian, they will check your shoulder. Our own immunization, they used to give it to us here. But for their own immunization, they give them under the elbow. So when they see that mark under your elbow, they will stop you and check your documents and all those things. Now, it is not a prerogative to go deep into the crisis involved and then the crimes that come as a result of this. But that shows you how these guys can be seriously affected. So migrants with serious health conditions, and I also had a story of a particular woman, a pregnant woman, a migrant, a refugee in Cameroon. This woman was in labor, could not give birth, and they took this woman to the federal hospital there. That one was in Takum, a place known as Takum. They take this woman to that place, but the woman was denied treatment because even though she had a refugee status, and by that status she was expected to be given treatment. But the Nigerian system, I don't know what happened, they dragged the matter. The woman was not given attention until the woman died. And eventually the child actually lived. But it was a very heartbreaking situation that these people, they have these serious health conditions, but sometimes they are afraid of going to government hospital because they don't have the refugee status. And even those who have the refugee status and are entitled to some treatment benefits, when they go there, they don't. And some of them say you will just go there, they just give you paracetamol and vitamin C, and you go back. But when they are writing to the UN how they treated these people, they will give serious bills. So corruption also comes in as a matter of fact, many people even benefit more from the refugees, from the refugee package than the refugees themselves. As a matter of fact, the structure of distribution, even as you people are, those of us now, I believe Father Umodio takes note of this, that when refugees gather in a particular community, it means that they are guests in that community, and that community becomes what? The host community. The sharing formula, the sharing ratio is that whatever you take to the refugees there, you give the refugees 70% and 30% goes to the host community. And that helps to reduce hostility from the host community against the refugees themselves, because you will give them that rice and go. At night, the host community members, they will visit them and they will not keep them in a good place. This happened in among the Nigerian refugees during the Nigerian Civil War in Congo. The Biafran child refugees that were taken to Congo, they were always being harassed by the host communities. By that time, the UN did not define this sharing formula, because they will feel that we are here living in hunger, and people every time aeroplane is bringing food to these people whom we don't even know where they come from. So we need to understand that. So migrant children whose return will be contrary to the best interest of the child. That's another point we need to note. Sometimes some of these children, borrowing my experience from my research on the Nigerian Civil War, demands that, during that time, most of the Nigerian children were suffering from kwashiorkor. You get the picture as we go down. They were suffering from kwashiorkor. And these children, some of them were even taken again without the knowledge of their parents, because they were just taken without their parents knowing their identity. And that is how they took them to, some of them went to island of Sao Tome. Some of them went to Equatorial Guinea, where we call Panya that time. Some of them went to Ivory Coast and all those places. So they were given that protection, but they were not covered by the UN definition of refugees. So we also look at migrants whose rights to family life depends on their remaining in the host countries, for those of them who get married. And let us also make a distinction between a refugee and an asylum seeker. You know, sometimes people confuse the two. If I am from Ghana, and I come to this place now, anyhow, whether I use like these guys that are dying in the Mediterranean Sea, by the time you arrive in that country, you are what? An asylum seeker. Highest you do, you go and report yourself to the authority of that country that you are seeking for as an asylum seeker. And then they will help you. You apply for refugee status. So once you apply for refugee status, you are still an asylum seeker until that status is granted. And when that status is granted, you are automatically under the coverage of the international law. Not even that country of your residence has the right to throw you out at will. That is why the UN really comes in. So that is so much for the those who are asylum seekers. So asylum seeker and a refugee are both people who have left their home country due to fear of persecution. But the terms describe different stages in the legal process of seeking for protection. I remember some time ago, Charles Taylor was here in Nigeria for asylum. But later on, Nigeria itself, Nigeria was the very country that returned Charles Taylor to face justice in his home country. And I would love us to look at the global statistics of refugees. Now, there is a reason why this may be a little bit boring for those who do not like statistics, but it's good for us to know that as we are now, as I said earlier, we have about 31 million refugees all around the world. And out of this 31, we have top 10 countries that give us 83% of these refugees. And out of these top 10 countries, the top 3 give us 54%. And the number 1 country is Syria with 25%. And then the second country is Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is about over 1.6 million people. We also have Ukraine. Of course, you know the story of the war in Ukraine. I wonder why Gaza is not here, but then we need to understand even though the Gaza crisis is popular, I want to believe that as it's going along with the war in Iran, these statistics will be changed. But this is as updated this month. So we also have Ukraine. We also have in South Sudan, that is when Africa has started coming in, 2.2 million. Then Sudan itself also, about 2 million people. We also have in Myanmar and Rohingya, we have about 1.3 million people. Then in Democratic Republic of Congo, we have 1-something million. Somalia also 894,000. Those are registered people. You know, most refugees are not registered. So they're asylum seekers as long as they don't register. So we also have Central African Republic to be the next in line. Then the last one is Eritrea, as they are still having their crisis. Now, the point to note is that all this that I've counted, 1 is from Europe, that is Ukraine. 3 from where? From Asia. And how many from Africa? 6. The statistics of African per capita may be small from this UN standpoint. But in terms of spread, Africa is a continent that has the highest number of civil and transnational conflicts. So now the fact is that it will be a problem, difficult for these guys to leave their problem in Europe and leave their problem in Asia and then come to attend to African problem. That is why most crises of refugee in Africa turns out not to feature prominently in global press. You will not see Al Jazeera coming to capture what is happening in Cameroon or Sudan. If they capture, it's just a flash. The same thing is applicable. You will not see in BBC. You will not see much in CNN. But so that shows that Africa should learn how to manage. We should have what we call the African refugee regime, in which we should also take care of our internal crisis. And this actually calls for the role of faith-based humanitarian agencies, faith-based organizations, or faith-based communities. And let us quickly run through make a chronological review of immigration and refugee trends in Nigeria. Now, first, if we take our mind back to the colonial time, most of those who came into this country as migrants, they were the missionaries, they were the merchants, they were all these people that came even as colonialists. They came as migrants. They were not from here, but they stayed here for some time, and some of them left later. So for between 1900 to 1960, we have that flow, that rhythm. And then from between 1960 to 1967, we had what we call the intercontinental migration. Within African countries, as I said earlier, most of South African freedom fighters, they were hosted here in Nigeria. Most of Robert Mugabe himself for some time stayed in Nigeria with his co-fighters. So most of our people, or most of these people, they were hosted here in Nigeria. So, and that was because that is when Nigeria gained the name of being a big brother. And Nigeria was also sponsoring these countries to fight for their freedom and fight against white domination. But in 1967, there was war in Nigeria, and Nigeria was no more safe. So automatically, there was a decline in the number of migrants in Nigeria. But immediately after the war in 1970, I don't want to bore us with so much history about the war, what we call Arab-Israeli war, that led to the shortage of oil globally. So the entire world depended on the Nigerian crude oil. And because of that, it was oil boom in Nigeria. During this period also, Gowon introduced, established the ECOWAS along with other West African leaders. And ECOWAS was made a free trade zone, giving most of our people, most people from Niger and Ghana, Togo, to come into Nigeria. We were free. We had the same passport, free to move up and down. And what happened? Most of these people, they came in. By this time, Nigeria enacted what they call indigenization policy, expelled most of the missionary expatriates and others. But they welcomed many people from within African country. But by 1983, early 1980, the oil market crashed against Nigeria. And there was hardship. That time, Sheikh Shagari came into power and decided to expel all non-Nigerian nationals. Whether you had a status as refugee or not, whether you had your passport as ECOWAS member or not, 2 million people were expelled. And out of these 2 million, about 1 million were from Ghana. So they used to bundle them, they used to run and hide, they bundled them, and the bag they used is what we call today Ghana must go. The slogan that time was Ghana must go. So the bag they used to carry their load is what has given the Nigerian name here today. But then, in the 1990s, we also had the Bakassi Peninsula crisis, rendering most of the people there stateless people. But let us just fast forward to our own contemporary time. when you see the headers crisis, and you see most of the Almajiri, most of the people you see around this plaza that are begging, those children that come and tear your clothes, you should drop something with them. Most of them are not Nigeria. Most of them are from Niger Republic. They are migrants. They are not refugees because they are not being driven out of their country by conflict. Their lives are not being threatened. Rather, they come looking for greener pastures. But most of their husbands are in the bush taking care of their cows. And this shows that what is the cause of this? Climate change. Around the Lake Chad Basin region, there is drought, so that the Lake Chad itself that fed that region with rainfall and grass is shrinking. Automatically, the grassland is low. So these guys begin to do what? Migrate down. And Nigeria is very, very porous borders, so that someone can just sneak in through any border without without border control or anything whatsoever. So we are having population boom today in Nigeria because of free movement across our borders. Then between 2010 and 2020, we also had the Boko Haram issue, even though it has not stopped, but it has been reduced. And this also affected the 4 Lake Chad Basin countries. And of course, currently, we have the Anglo-Cameroonian crisis. I don't want to give you the history of that crisis. It's something we have to understand that it has actually caused a whole lot for Nigeria. But the question is, with all this syndrome, or with all this coming up of refugee crisis, who are the actors to act as those who can intervene in this network? So we need to make an overview of actors in migrant and refugee intervention network. The number one is that you have what we call state and non-state actors. For example, we have international organizations. We have the United Nations High Commissioner for the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, what we call UNCAR, as I said earlier. So they are the key players in making sure that these guys globally are being catered for. So wherever there is surging refugee crisis, once UNCAR is aware, UNCAR will be there. I want to believe if we have a serious refugee crisis here in Akwa Ibom, before you know this, UNCAR will come in here. And if UNCAR comes in here now, you call for a workshop of this kind, this place will be filled to the brim. Everybody will want to identify with this workshop because they want to identify with UN, that international body that controls refugee crisis. And someone told me in Taraba State, one of the refugees told me, he said, sir, the people here that are claiming to take care of refugees, you see the cars they are driving, and you see how fat they are. They eat better than those they are taking care of. Anyway, but just that shows you. And what UNCAR does is that if they come here now, they will not deal with the refugees directly. They will use what? They will use intermediaries. They will use, for example, they can come and use the Catholic Migration and Refugee Center. So whatever they want to give, they go through this unit. And they will also look at the different organizations that can take care of these bodies. That is why you see now people become philanthropists overnight when they see that dollars will be coming in. But when such a thing is not happening, it takes a whole lot of courage. It takes a whole lot of sacrifice for the host communities to care for such people. And we also have governments, national government, for example. In Nigeria, we have Nigerian government setting up a structure, which I'll look at that very soon, that takes care of this. And we also have local authorities. If they settle here now, if the refugees settle here, the chief of that community becomes their own chief. So they are directly involved with the host community. And they have to report themselves to the members of the host community so that whatever happens, they will have a uniform running. So we also have non-governmental organizations, both national and international non-governmental organizations. So we also have, this is where the Catholic Church and others fit into, faith-based organizations. For example, in the Catholic Church, we have Jesuit Relief Services, we have Caritas International, and of course, we have the JDPC, and we also have our own migrant and refugee units here that have called us to be where we are. But outside the Catholic Church, we also have the World Vision International owned by the Protestants. We also have the Christian Aid. That organization, during the Nigerian Civil War, it was called the Joint Church Aid. We also have the Tier Fund. And even among the Muslims, what surprises me is that Muslims are becoming more ferocious now in humanitarian services than even the Christian communities. But it is very, very dangerous that most often what really touched me is that in most cases you see our young girls who were Catholics in Cameroon, by the time they came, in order to survive, they go into early marriage with Muslims in Nigeria. And one of them, a Catholic, got married and brought the younger brother, and the brother was forced to become a Muslim. And anytime the brother refused to go to the mosque or comes to the Catholic Church, they will beat him mercilessly and starve him. So that shows that if we do not rise up as faith-based intervention organization or faith-based community, others are waiting. You don't know what the Protestants will be doing as a criteria or criterion to help these guys. And don't think that we don't have them. If you go through Ngwaniba, towards the 100 units there, you will see there are many people from Benin Republic. Most of them are plumbers, artisans, electricians. They are doing beautiful works, you know, but then they cannot identify with their faith communities. So we as Catholics, we need to identify some of these people and see how we can patronize them so that they can settle. But those ones are not refugees, they are migrants. We can talk sometime in the future about migrant workers. Now, we also have private sectors also being in charge of this refugee regime. We also have celebrities and advocacy groups, and we also have refugees themselves. There in Taraba State, what we call Association of Refugees is a very powerful organization. And those guys, when the first set of refugees came, they found an association, and then they are now assisted in bringing other refugees from Cameroon. And when they bring you, they take care of you for 1 year, and after 1 year, they establish you. And they were, apart from being funded by international organizations, they are also being funded by Anglophone Cameroonians who are well-to-do outside Africa. So wherever we are dealing with the refugees, you need to make sure that these refugees, they don't just come and then eat and go. You need to find a way to make the refugees help themselves, because no one can help the refugee better than refugees help themselves. By the time they come and they speak one language, they have common historical background, and they have common problem. They will bond together better than they will bond with members of their host community. So there should be emphasis for them to take care of themselves. So we also have, for example, I talk about the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and IDPs in Nigeria. At the state level, we also have state emergency management agencies. And we also, at the local government level, we also have local emergency management agencies. So all these agencies are meant to work together to make sure that these guys are being taken care of. Now, we are just at the end of it. We look at the role of the church. Now, of course, you remember that the role of the church, first of all, is what? Pastoral. Earlier, I quoted Michael Bennett to have said that the origin of empire of humanity came from religious organizations. Even in the pre-Christian era, religious bodies have always been there to assist their own people to gain footing in a strange land. That is why you see the Jews still being very, very powerful wherever they go. Wherever a Jew finds himself, he must first of all look at the condition of a fellow Jew and see also our own Igbo brothers. Now you see that if you go to Gabon, we still have some Igbo communities in Gabon today, and most of them trace their history back to the Nigerian Civil War. Please, let the camera not capture this one. But there is a rumor that Ali Bongo, I think it's either the current or the immediate past president, I think it's still the president of Gabon, was originally an Igbo refugee in that country, adopted by his father, the Ali Bongo Senior. Hope the camera is not taken. This one is not said by me, so that you don't call me to go and make DNA test. But then you need to understand that sometimes these people, they stay in a particular place and then become indigents of that particular community or that particular country that they are. And eventually, they cannot go home anymore. They have everything. That is how they also, in their own way, have their place. Now, the church should also help them. Apart from humanitarian services, the church should help them in their means of livelihood. You cannot just, sometimes when you see refugees, there is what we call dependency syndrome among refugees. And this dependency syndrome among refugees is, even the UN tells us that there is meant to be a limit to the time that you have to take care of the refugees. If they gather here today, maybe you give them 1 year or 2 years. Within this period, they have to learn skill acquisition. For example, Cameroonian refugees in Equatorial Guinea, when they went there, the then president, that was during the First World War, the Equatorial Guinea government gave them a whole large farmland, that is Panya, and they were the ones that made Panya to become the Panya that our forefathers used to go and come back to our own place and say, Ngika Panya. So it was a place when these Cameroonian refugees, when Cameroon, the German Cameroon, was taken over by the English Cameroon, most of them, they went over there. And of course, you also know in church history, the religious, some of their missionaries, they came over to our own, and the Holy Ghost fathers absorbed them. But then, you see, what they did to them in Equatorial Guinea was to give them that huge farmland. And they planted cocoa, they planted all kinds of crops, and it boosted the economy of the place. So when they come, don't just keep them somewhere, someday and feed. Because sometimes this problem will be prolonged. And when these problems are being prolonged, it will overstretch the elasticity of the hospitality of the host communities. And when they are fed up, they begin to cause conflict. Now, at that point, when the refugees are hungry, they will now either go into stealing, or they now go into certain criminal acts that may affect, for example, they are young women, they go into prostitution, and they embrace cheap prostitution at that. Not the one that is expensive, not the Maitama kind, but the type that will put them at the level of slavery, and they have no joy in it. So you now see that these are situations. So if you establish them and help them to secure their means of livelihood within a stipulated number of time, even what is happening in the refugee association, when you come in, for the first 1 year, the association will take care of you. And after 1 year, you are expected to do what? To establish yourself and begin to pay the rent, so that they can now use this money to take care of others. The refugees also build a post so that they give each refugee money to do market, to do trade, and then they tell you this is the interest rate you have to pay. And even the host community members in Gembu, in Taraba State, they complained that people are no more buying from them. They are running to the refugees. And it is serious in Takum area of Taraba State that most, in Gembu, the major language is Fulfulde. And that is a kind of Fulani language. And some of them speak Hausa. So it is easy for them to integrate there. But in Takum, they are of most of them are from of the Chamba ethnic group, and some of them are also of the Jukun ethnic group. So when Cameroonians come in, if you are not of the Chamba ethnic group, it's difficult for you to fit in. And the refugees in turn are complaining that the indigenes don't like buying things from them no matter what they produce. So that conflict is there. That is why you see most of them, they leave that part of Taraba State. And let me just give you the experience, if I'm not taking too much of your time. Most of our people, as I was coming back, I saw two young teenagers, so to say, inside the vehicle. And a boy and a girl. And as we were coming down, it was getting late. While it was getting late, I realized something. I realized that these two boys, or these two siblings, they were seemingly siblings, they were feeling uneasy. And at some point, the woman that was leading them, they started making calls. So when they came, they stopped somewhere at Ikorekbene. At some point, I got to realize that these guys were actually Cameroonians. They were not Nigerians, based on my discussion with them. And their parents actually sneaked out first. They found their way to Ikorekbene, to Akwa Ibom. And eventually, when I was coming down to Uyo, they dropped at Ikorekbene. The parents were there to receive them. And you can see how they hugged each other and they were crying in the process of this reunion. So you now see that this you may think that they are just over there, but we have their community, their settlement around here. So for us to make impact as this unit in the church, we need to identify most of these people. Some of them, they will not have the refugee status, the asylum seekers. Or some of them, the asylum seekers, but they don't want to register officially and go to the legal process. So, but if they have the security of faith-based community like the Catholic Church, they can now find a way to make their process legal. Because the side effect is that if they don't have legal status, even if they manage to go to school, they will not be able to write WAEC. They will not be able to gain admission into any Nigerian university. Because then your national ID card will come. They will not be able to have their SIM card unless someone registers and give it to them. And they will not be able to, there are so many limitations, even as much as they don't have the national ID card and other documents. And then we also, when we identify them, we should welcome them in terms of religious education. Because even the UN emphasizes that a refugee child should be given access to religious education. So if a Muslim refugee finds himself here and he wants to learn Al-Majri, Arabic language, the UN has the responsibility to do what? To make that available for such. So, but for us Catholics, whenever we identify them, we have many Catholic schools. We can see how we can give them free education. For example, in this school, I think, forgot the name of that school in Takum in Taraba State, they welcome them. But in Gembu, the Catholic school there refused to receive them, and most of them could not go to school. And for example, if I'm using this Cameroonian issue as an example, because something I know very well, most of them are teachers. Because the present crisis in Cameroon started with between teachers and lawyers versus the Cameroonian government. So most of them are lawyers, most of them are teachers. So the question is, when they come into Nigeria, they are not being allowed to teach in government schools. They just go to private schools who will pay them peanuts and live in a very miserable condition. And their lawyers will not even be allowed to practice. Their lawyer cannot even defend a fellow refugee in the Nigerian court. So these are issues that should enable us as advocates, those who advocate for the rights of refugees and migrants, to look at these loopholes and know how to. And this also gives us the grace to give them what we call legal assistance. Most importantly, when we talk about trafficking, most of these people, they are being trafficked here and there. Why? Because they see it as a means of survival. That is where they are highly vulnerable. And sometimes when someone lures them over to Nigeria with the hope that they are coming to have a better life, Nigeria is a place where we don't have, we have a high rate of unemployment and all of that. And it's difficult for you to establish businesses here because you don't have lights, the power situation and everything. So when they come, they get frustrated, and some of them, they sell themselves out either to cheap labor or subject themselves to another level of human trafficking. I met one here recently in my parish who told me Nigeria is not the way it was when he came into Nigeria, so I should give him a little money. If he has little money, he wants to go to Cameroon. He's from Benin Republic. He can speak French very well. So he wants to go there. And imagine if she was a woman, it would be very easy for her to find her way to the Francophone Cameroon and would devise any means to survive. But if we are able to get them settled down and give them meaningful and productive life, I'm telling you, instincts for self-survival is very powerful. Give them a little money, they will do it far better than our own indigenous people here will do in establishing themselves. Of all said yet, remember I started by saying that we are all migrants, and at some point we shall also return. As I was speaking as a scholar, but let me come a little to religious perspective. God said to Moses, tell the children of Israel, be nice to strangers, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thank you, and may God bless you.
I think we can be more resounding in our applause in appreciation for that very wonderful talk. Thank you very much, Father, for taking us through who is a refugee, reminding us the timeliness of this workshop and the theme for 2025, World Refugee Day, which says solidarity for the refugees must go beyond words. He reminded us of who a refugee is and making a clear distinction that all refugees are migrants, but not all migrants are refugees. He mentioned the need for faith-based intervention, the effects of a refugee to the economy of the host, and critical areas of advocacy. That's the bits I could take. I know you've also taken other bits for yourself. Thank you very much, Father, for that wonderful message. Can we again celebrate him? I believe that Father will be disposed to attend to questions. So we'll have 10 minutes, if it is not too much, for us to indicate and make contributions in terms of questions. So if you have any contribution to make, you do indicate with a lift of the hand. Someone wants to contribute.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Father Titus Afatan, and I want two clarifications from what Father Ekefoye has said. I want to commend the paper. I think it's very wonderful. Number one is, you talked about something that happened during the war and why the international organization could not come to the help of the suffering Biafrans as at that time. And you said it is because of something that eventually the African OAU extension, you resolved it or something like that. And that is why you went ahead to say now those who are suffering in Benue can be called or can qualify to be called refugees, even though they are Nigerians in Nigeria. So I want to understand why, as at that time, those who were suffering in Biafra could not be termed refugees. That is the first question. The second one is, you said that there are some refugees who are in critical health conditions and they cannot get medical help because they do not have the refugee status. I don't really understand what that means. Is it like a paper, a qualification, and who is supposed to get it? Are they the ones to go for it themselves, and where should they go for such things? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. What I said about the, there were other international organizations, but there were national organizations, not the one officially sanctioned by UN, that came in to intervene during the Nigerian Civil War. And particularly the United Nation, the Office of the United Nations Commissioner for High Commission for Refugee was a problem because, as we saw their definition, the definition had geographical and chronological limitation. The geographical limitation is that it was limited to Europeans, and the chronological is that they were focusing on the refugees affected by the what we call the Cold War and then the Second World War. But there was something more than that that we should understand. There is what we call the 1967 protocol, that the UN came to remove those barriers. But even after that, they were saying that Nigerian problem is an internal problem because they did not officially recognize Biafra as a separate country. So if we have a group of people staying in maybe Igbos in the then Biafra region who moved over to Benue State, they cannot see them as refugees because they say they are still Nigerians. So that is why the OAU or AU now fine-tuned their own to accommodate those who are being affected by internal crisis, but they find themselves out of their country. So I may not say that the Benue, victims of Benue killings or displaced persons who find themselves out of Nigeria are entitled to secure the refugee status. Now, your second question was, how can they have this status? By the time you arrive at this country, you are not yet a refugee until you are being certified as a refugee. Rather, you are an asylum seeker. Yes, you are a migrant, and the category of your status as a migrant is that you are an asylum seeker. When this asylum is granted by the authority of that country, that is when you become when you are hosting somebody who has high dependency ratio, you are bound to be stretched. And if somebody brings food from outside for you to give that to your host, so you also need to lick your hand while feeding that is why. And that is another reason why even these people now, what do? They now turn around, like Nigerians turn around, and Nigeria, many things are possible. They turn around and they secure this refugee status. They give you, there is a paper, it's like a traveling document. Some they make it in form of a card. The UN has its own, and then Nigeria has its own. So you have to couple this together, and wherever you are going, you show that you are a refugee. And by so doing, police is saved you from some sort of police harassment, because a police that knows the law knows that you are a refugee, and having the status, you are an international citizen. So most of the things they would do to a Nigerian, they will not do to you. But if you don't have, you are bound to face so many hurdles. I don't know whether I've answered your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Father. Do you have any further questions? All right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that we are already into the snack break.
Father, thank you very much for your well-articulated presentation. I just want to make a little contribution and then to ask a question. My contribution is this. When we speak of those who are refugees within their own country, of course you have made it clear to him there are those who have acquired that status as refugees. But those who are yet to acquire that status are regarded technically as internally displaced persons. They are yet to acquire. Who are internally displaced persons? Those who are forced out of their own communities, out of their own region, as a result of attacks, as a result of persecutions, and even as a result of natural disasters. Has put in place in Nigeria to manage a situation of this sort? That's my question. That's my question. Yes. Do we have measures put in place by the Nigerian government to manage a situation of this sort?
First, Father, thank you for the clarification. Now, no country will give a citizen of his own country a refugee status in his own country. I don't know whether you get my point. So my reference to the Benue crisis, I was telling that being that they can no more be secure in their own country, if they find themselves out of this country, they have the right to secure their refugee status. But that is outside. But if you comfortably staying in Akwa Ibom, pick up a visa to the US to go for a conference, and after your conference, or whether it was fake or real conference, what happens? You refuse to go back and you apply for refugee as someone in Akwa Ibom. It will be difficult because you have no proof to show that your life is being threatened. But someone in Benue State, with all this that have happened and that has taken a global dimension, it can easily be listened to. That is why I meant that. So within Nigeria, those people are IDPs. We did not make that distinction because I was focusing on migrants and then refugees. But it's also our place as a church to make sure we give room to IDPs, because there are some IDPs who are living lives more miserable than even the foreigners who come to live with us as refugees. That is why I really commend the Bishop of Yola built an estate known as the Salama Estate for IDPs within his territory. I think up to 3 or to all 3 estates. And it is open not just to Catholics alone. He does this, even the section for Muslims, he builds a mosque. And that shows the, whenever you are practicing humanitarianism by national standard, you need to embrace these 4 principles. First, humanity. Second, neutrality. Third, impartiality. Fourth, independence. Independence of the government, independence of where this person comes from or whatever. So those 4 principles are the principles that characterize a genuine humanitarian intervention in refugee cases or elsewhere. Now, there are so many cases in which, there are 2 ways through, let me not say 2 ways, but I want to address 2 ways through which refugee crisis can be handled. First, it can be by integration. By the time they come, they buy land, they build houses, or sometimes the communities give them houses or land to build house and then plant, and they got integrated in the society and they live as members of that community. That is what Nigerian government is principally doing now, because they feel that they have been overstretched. UN is gradually withdrawing. And as the UN is withdrawing, international aid is focusing on other places. Nigerian government does not have the capacity to take care of these people. In Ogoja, for instance, we had, is it Dagom? This guy has gone out, he should have told you. Either Dagom or Gagam or some place in around Ogoja side. They have their own camp there. And those guys have been there in the camp. But recently, from my recent research on the place, they have been, so overstretched, they cannot take care of themselves anymore. So most of them now are being integrated into the society. So even the UN advises that there should be a limit to this camp settlement. Camp should be, in most cases, just on a temporary note. When these guys are able to secure their means of livelihood, then integration process can begin. An integration process cannot begin or cannot be consolidated without the cooperation of the state government. So Nigeria, we have the capacity, but corruption. Remember what happened, the scandal of the humanitarian commission, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. The money meant for this kind of project was embezzled by one person. So it is difficult for me to just outrightly say that Nigeria cannot handle. But so far, from what I have experienced in places I have visited, it's difficult for these guys to be comfortable in Nigeria based on the support of the government. They rely more on outside and on what they can do with their hands. And I seriously advise the church, as we embark on this, please, let's be careful not to spoon-feed these people. Find a way of settling them to have a means of livelihood. Because if there is a psychological defect known as dependency syndrome, if you overfeed them, they will now see your own this thing as a right. And when you don't give it to them, they can cause riots. And that can cause the separation of peace in the host community. So from the day one, it's good to gear them towards self-reliance. I don't know whether I've answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Father. I have been reliably informed that our second speaker is in the house. I would invite my brother, Barrister Justus Columbus, to the microphone as he would recognize her to the head table.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. Please, for the second speaker, I will invite to the head table Mrs. Eme Iniobong Ukpabio. Please, a round of applause. Let's encourage her as she steps forward. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Eme Iniobong Ukpabio. Please, a round of applause. Let's keep encouraging her till she gets to the head table. welcome Mrs. Eme Iniobong to the head table. Please, before the second speaker begins, please may I invite to the head table Reverend Sister Philomena Oku, please to come in and introduce the second speaker officially. Please, let's also encourage Sister by putting our hands together for her.
Thank you. Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. Please let me also stand on the existing protocol to introduce Mrs. Eme Iniobong Ukpabio. Mrs. Eme Iniobong Ukpabio is a NAPTIV officer. NAPTIV, National Agency for trafficking in persons, for the prohibition of trafficking in persons. NAPTIV of Uyo Zonal Command. Madam, you are welcome. Well, I know you are tired, but I crave your indulgence to listen for her talk on human trafficking. Mrs. Eme Iniobong Ukpabio, as I said, is of NAPTIV in Uyo Zonal Command, and she has been involved with us in everything we do against human trafficking. We anchor and collaborate with NAPTIV, and she's always there to answer our call whenever we ask of her. Today, she's just coming from another talk, and from there, she's now coming here. You can see she's quite tired, and she has not been very well of late. Madam, please, you are welcome, and I hope you don't mind our exhausting you. So our priests are here to listen to you. She's a doctoral candidate in a field, she will tell you. Am I going back to
Praise the Lord. With due respect to Reverend Father Emmanuel Omodio, I want to stand on the already laid down protocols. Like Sister had introduced me, I am the least in the army. My name is Eme Iniobong Ukpabio, the PRO of NAPTIV Uyo Zonal Command and the head of Public Enlightenment Unit. I am here to talk on what I like to talk about always, human trafficking. My agency is NAPTIV, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. When I go out to talk to laymen, I tell them anti-human trafficking agency, because we are against human trafficking. Okay, I should have had slides here, but the slides I made back in the office that I've been tapping from are sent in PDF form, and we are constrained by certain technical abilities, so we cannot use the slides here. But with what you have in your folders, I am going to take you very fast across so many tiny things that may not be carried in this paper. If I want to include everything in this paper, we'll be spending so much time, and we'll have volumes of papers to refer to, which will make our talk very cumbersome. So I want to start by telling us.
Please, you have the summary of our talk in your folders. It might help. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Okay, human trafficking is defined in different ways by different authors. But for the sake of people like you, who are frontline, first-line responders to trafficking cases, we have decided, community leaders, church leaders, religious leaders, schools management and administrators, we have decided to come up with the definition of human trafficking as the act of buying and selling of persons. That makes it very short. The act of buying and selling of persons. And I want to tell us that human trafficking is endemic in our societies today. It is endemic outside Nigeria. It is endemic here in Nigeria. It is endemic here in Akwa Ibom State. It is endemic in your very village where you come from. Every part of Nigeria has been affected, and every part of the world has been affected by human trafficking and traffickers' activities. Like I said, that human trafficking has to do with the act of buying and selling of persons through recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, and receiving of persons. And one will ask me, what is recruitment? Recruitment, human trafficking has three elements: the act, the means, and the purpose. So I'm into the acts now. The recruitment, a situation where somebody comes to you to talk to you about yourself, to take you away for better job opportunities or greener pastures. A situation where somebody comes to talk to you about your sibling, for the consecrated reverend fathers in the house. They talk to you about your siblings. Can I take this your sibling, this your sister or brother to so and so place for so and so thing? The person is going to be well paid. They want to talk you away, to give the child will be away from the home. That's recruitment. The process of recruitment has to do with trying to persuade you, to coerce you, to make you understand, to force you to some extent. When you refuse to understand with them, they use force to talk to you. Anyhow, they know they can manipulate you, manipulate your reasoning, your psyche, your thought, your mental heart, and then take somebody or take you away. That's recruitment. And then after recruiting the person is transported from one location to another location. It can be from here, Dominicutuk Avenue, from where we are here, maybe to Itam, maybe to our back road or anywhere within town. It must not be across cities or across international borders. Human trafficking. And then when they do the transportation, those ones do it in very nocturnal forms, very secretive, off hours of the day, unsuspecting manners. A recruiter can come here, talk to you, gather the children, put them somewhere, and will never surface before those children again. Who you see is a man that comes with a vehicle. Can be a tricycle, the keke, can be a motorcycle, a bike, can be a bicycle, can just be walking by the leg to a distance away from where the person was talked to. Because this thing is clandestine in nature, it is not done in the open. So somebody will talk to you and go away, or will himself or herself drive you or take you away from there. Transportation involves the movement of one person from one place to the another. When you get to another place, there is what we call the transfer. The recruiter transfers the victim to the next person who is going to actually sell out the victim or violate the victim, exploit the victim. And then the next one is the harbor, a hotel, a brothel, somebody's house, somebody's residence can be used. A little room somewhere can be used as a harbor for 100 victims of human trafficking, for 50 victims of human trafficking, for a victim of human trafficking. Once they've taken to the harbor, they are dumped there. So some victims, a victim is somebody who has fallen prey to the antics of the trafficker. That's what we call a victim. The one who comes back from human trafficking, who is rescued, is called a survivor. So when I say victim, let us understand is that person that has accepted their tricks and has followed them. That's a victim. So when they get to the point of the harbor, most times that becomes their destination, their final destination, where they will be either exploited or used for whichever purpose they had planned to do. at the point of harbor. To some people, the harbor is not their final bus stop, it's not their final destination. Somebody else has to come to that harbor, negotiate and pick that person away from that harbor to a different harbor entirely. And that person is called the recipient. So it is a chain. It goes on like that. So when you see human traffickers, when you see one person, he is not the only one involved in that business. He has a chain of other people involved in that business. So human trafficking is a syndicate and it is a chain. It moves from one person to the other, and many people, I am not afraid of saying it, many people from different walks of life are involved in human trafficking. Even our religious leaders, I'm not talking about the Catholic Church, talking about other private church owners, all these one-man founded churches that will be the president and the founder, sometimes, it's not always, are involved, because we've had cause to arrest a few who had cause to keep people's children who are not their children, with so many promises of sending them abroad to go and study. So it is a syndicate. And now I go to the means of fraud, deception, falsehood. When they come to you, they will tell you, when you follow me from this place to the next station, this bottle of water will be given to you 20 times in a day. When you sell this bottle of water, you make money for yourself. That is deception. It is deception in the sense that when they move you from here to the next destination, this water that you saw one bottle with your eyes, that you would have managed where you were, you will not even see it again. The story will change completely. The hundreds of bottles you are supposed to see, you won't see them again. Even the one that they showed you in your eyes that you saw and accepted to follow will be elusive. You can't see it again. Human trafficking. They come to deceive you, make you develop this big spirit, this big mind. I'm going to succeed. But when you leave here and go there, instead of succeeding, you become enslaved. You become enslaved to the things you would not do ordinarily. Okay, then deception, fraud, abuse of power or vulnerability, coercion. Abuse of power over someone's vulnerability means I am the mistress. I have my cousins or people living with me, and somebody comes, a trafficker, meets me and tells me, look, I'm going to give you ₦1,000,000 if you give me 2 or 3 of your boys or girls. And I accept it because the money is big. They pay it into my account. Now I'm going to use my power over these ones in my house. Some of them will tell you, please, I don't want to go. I want to stay here. It is my place as the madam of the house or the boss of the house to say, you have to go. After all, I'm the one training you. I'm the one fending for you. I'm giving you everything. You have to go. So you're using your position of authority over that person's vulnerability, because if the person is not under you and is not vulnerable, the person should be in your father's house or doing something in a school, learning in a school, or doing something somewhere. So that is when we say you are using your position of authority over that person's vulnerability. It can be your child, though. Children are also vulnerable to their parents' antics, who have obeyed stories of traffickers. And then the sole purpose of human trafficking is for exploitation. What do I mean by exploitation? Sexual exploitation, labor exploitation, servitude, organ harvesting, and every other thing. These days, in those days, my marriage was contracted between a father and somebody is owing debt bonded marriage. And then when I come to you to borrow money, you give me money that I cannot pay back. You know my level. You know this money will be, I cannot pay back. It will be difficult for me to pay. And you still borrow me that amount of money. Sometimes they're asking for something, you're giving them big amounts. And then when it is time, you say, since you cannot pay my money, your daughter will be my wife. That's why you see 11 years old, 12 years old, being sent away into early marriages. And the men sometimes destroy these children's future. Because once you try to exploit or do anything negative to an underage, you've destroyed that person's life entirely. So, exploitation. Either you collect, why we call it exploitation is because even if you engage a girl into prostitution, pornographic movie development in the Western world, those are all the forms, the things that those children are pushed into. Child labor, servitude, the Ekaite syndrome, that somebody is put into somebody's house. The contract was, when you live with me, I send you to school. When you live with me, I make you to learn a trade. And the person comes to live with you, either a boy as an apprentice or a girl as a house girl. At the end of 1 or 2 years, I'm going to pay for your school fees or settle you with a job, and you don't do that. You have exploited that person. So most times, the girls or boys are forced into prostitution. Boys are also forced into prostitution. Please take note. They are forced into prostitution. Don't seem to earn their own money they have worked for. It is the master that brought them that earns the money. That makes it exploitative. Because if you pick somebody and pay the person money, he can get food, can access health, Medicare, can access school, can go to anywhere to take any kind of a thing he wants to. But because somebody else is collecting that money, that person can be sick. The victim can be sick but cannot go to the hospital. Their freedom, their basic human rights are violated. Once somebody is a victim of human trafficking, that human right, the person has freedom of association, of worship, of movement, of even speech, is what is violated. You're deprived completely. Some children are picked and put away. Exploitation, their own form of exploitation, is for baby production, what we call baby factories. Those ones, we have baby sales in Uyo, in Akwa Ibom State, but baby factories are predominant in Igbo land. Because when they pick these children away from here, they put them in seclusion, in isolation, not to see the world. And young men, different men are meant to go in there, to be with those women, have affairs with them and go away. When the child is born, the girl that puts birth to the child does not get to see the child. The child is sold out immediately at birth, with the umbilical cord very fresh and dripping with blood. That is because some women, when they wake up to see their children, they take note of maybe a particular mark somewhere. To avoid that child being identified later in life, you put to bed, you don't seem to see your child, the child is tucked away, somebody has already paid money long before you delivered, and the child is given out. So these things are going on. Those are exploitative measures against victims. And you know this, you know as much as I do, that when we keep selling our children out, we keep selling them out, before long, and then we start bringing in other people, there will be infiltration of culture into our own culture. We are known as Christians. You bring in a Hausa person who is a total Muslim, who doesn't want to change religion. The parents are there, in short, maybe the imams. You go to bring a child from there. The child does not seem to align, will not agree with our way of worship. So we have infiltration. A lot of things will begin to change around us here. We would have lost some norms and some values. And then you take a child from here to that side. The child does not want to align with that way of worship because it is naturally inborn. It is in the child. So let us please know these things, that exploitation can be in any form. So long as the person that has been taken is not earning the money for the child she has given birth to, she's not earning the money for the work she's doing, that person has been exploited. Now, I have as the next item, the root causes of human trafficking. The root causes of human trafficking. Sorry, I forgot to mention one of the exploitative measures, organ harvesting. Young men are taken from here to stay in Lagos, to stay outside the country, to service, do a lot of things. Either you're put into too much hard labor in the companies where you work hours on end and your money is not well paid. Or some of our young men, when you go out and you interface, you meet with people. Some of our young boys, very young boys, 16, 17, that are taken from here because of that, their strength. They work in quarries, even in Nigeria. They go to Ondo to work in plantations. In all those, they are big plantations. And at the end of the day, they're given 50,000 naira. And you see them come back at the end of the year, if they're even allowed to come back, with radios on their shoulders and walking the street. Gone are those days. That child has not gone to school. Organ harvesting now has to do with a friend taking you out on a drink, on a walk, or you branch somewhere and take a drink and you are unconscious and your organs are removed. Because the kidney and the liver, we all know how much it is. Of course, I'm not supposed to tell you. It is $1 million or $50 million business. Just one kidney or two, you have made it in life. Organ harvesting is thriving now seriously, especially in these days of our Yahoo Plus business. It is going on seriously. People are involved in doing it. So watch out. So when sometimes people are trafficked, come and live with me in UK. You go there after 1 week or 2 weeks, you have gone through a surgery, which you don't know why you had that surgery. It's just because either your kidney is important to that family. It is going on. Let us be careful the things we see. When you see mangled bodies on the street, they are not just killed and thrown away, they have been harvested. It is going on. Now, root causes of human trafficking. One would say poverty. Number one is poverty. A lot of people in our country are living below poverty line. They are living, their income is low down there. Their income cannot pay bills for them anymore. Sometimes an unemployed person is there in the village with 10 children. When we go to meet them, we tell them, give birth to children according to how much you can cater for them. Because to them is the gift of God to them. So they keep giving birth to children. You cannot afford, if you afford cassava from the bush to make gari and eat in their house, you cannot afford meat. You cannot afford to send them to school. So when those ones lay about like that and somebody just comes to them with one sweet talk of a job somewhere, they jump at the offer without asking questions. So poverty is one of the root causes of human trafficking. Another one is lack of education. When we talk about education, we're not talking about the normal secular classroom education like this. No. It's awareness, being aware, being educated on what human trafficking is, how it comes, how to identify them when you see one, and then being knowledgeable, having the sense to say, no, I don't want to follow you. No, I'll not allow my sister's child to follow you. That's lack of education. If you don't have education on human trafficking, my dear, even a professor in the university can be trafficked. What does it take to traffic a highly educated professor in the university? It's just show him one pay package. Show him how authentic the business is from the beginning to the end. In short, make him a part of the business. And he sees the way the money is coming in. He leaves and resigns from this work he was doing, or takes one sabbatical leave and follows you abroad. When he gets there, all those things he saw were fiction. He will not see them again. So anybody can be trafficked. Nobody should deceive you. But if you are educated on human trafficking, you cannot be trafficked. That's education. Number 3 is unemployment and inequality. Unemployment is a problem in Nigeria. When you're not employed, you're given to accepting anything that comes your way as a job. Please try to talk to them, your first responders to human trafficking cases, because these people, you belong to communities in the church, and these people are members of your community. So when they come to you to tell you things, when they come to complain to you, please try to ensure you educate them. Unemployment would never end in this world, though. It will continue to be, because every year 1,000 of graduates are being rolled out of schools. And where are the jobs? Let them create ministry of anything in every home. Members of that home will occupy spaces. People will come and it will still not be enough. So rather than allow uneducation affect you, put your hands into something viable and try to work with your hands. Tell them to work with their hands. Discourage them from following this Jackpot syndrome of traveling from Nigeria, Jackpot to US. It is a lie. Most of them fall into very wrong hands. And then inequality. Some of our people do not believe a woman should go to school. The world is a man's world. So education is meant for the man. The woman's place is supposed to be in the kitchen. It is not supposed to be in the classroom. Please, give women equal education. I thank God for the equality, the gender equality campaign that has even overtaken everywhere. The phone is there. Thank you very much, sir. Where in recent times, women are even taking more quota of employment than men. Thank you to the government for that, because inequality before now was a very big problem that caused a lot of women to be moved out of the families and trafficked to different places. Then the next one is conflict and displacement. I heard the first speaker, towards the time I came, talk about the IDPs and all that. Nothing destabilizes a family. Nothing fragments and divides a family like conflicts. War-torn communities. People become displaced. Everybody runs away to take shelter in any community that is peaceful. So when you see those people coming around, they are looking for help. They are very vulnerable, very helpless. People, traffickers take advantage of them by lying to them and taking them away. Some even abuse them while here. So displacements, when you have conflicts, you have displacements. Could be natural disaster like maybe flood, could be war, could be anything. Sometimes people run away because of epidemic outbreak in a community. It is too much. You carry your children and look for where to go to. So when they are displaced like that, traffickers prey on them. They see them as ready meat for chewing. Then we have greed. That's where I stand though. I feel that the human trafficking that is going on amongst us is because of lack of contentment. If you have a small thing you're doing, please hold on to it. Do it religiously. The small is like the talents, the parable of the 5 talents. The other one was given 5. You have 1. Do not dig a earth and bury your own. Use that one to try something. It will yield fruit later in life. But some people, because of greed, they want their children to be, they want themselves to be like the daughter of, the son of Mazi, the son of Mr. Edet, the daughter of Ikwo. So that is greed. You are not satisfied with your situation. You are not trying to be better by working hard. You just want to jump and hang on wealth and bring it to the house. It's greed. Greedy people have been trafficked, many, and they come back to tell their own stories. Then corruption. Corruption is an underlying factor that fuels human trafficking. Why? A lot of people that are meant to administer the law of human trafficking are corrupt. Where somebody is arrested and you don't look at the person and see the crime to the person. You are looking at the person with a lens of his position in the office. And then he doesn't need to just say anything. Welcome, sir, welcome, sir. Sir, sit down. A criminal. Sir, sit down, sit down. Make yourself comfortable. Okay, sir, how may we help you? Start smiling. The man will say, I have 10 million for you. Just let this thing go. And somebody that has been picked, been violated, being used all around, is waiting there in pain. While this man that caused the issue is allowed to just go back to his office. Sometimes a phone call away, and officers, law enforcement start fidgeting and allowing things roll. Please, corruption is one of the things that fuels trafficking, because every kingpin trafficker has a link with one big shot in government somewhere. But if that person is arrested like we do in my place, a reverend sister was arrested and brought to NAPTIP, we went to arrest her. We did not fear the fact that she is God's child. Because she was involved in human trafficking, she is in a waiting trial, waiting for the day her judgment will be passed, and then she'll save her full jail term. That's true, because she bought a baby. Why do you go to buy a baby? If you're a reverend sister and you want to have a child, why not go do normal fostering, adoption, proper adoption? Let it be on record that you adopted this child to have. Why do you want to go and buy a newborn baby and then keep the child away from people? And for what time do you have? Have you finished praying for people like me and my sins? Those are the things. So corruption, there's so much corruption in the land that is fueling human trafficking. Because of the fact that these weak points came up in the different law enforcement agencies, NAPTIP was created so that we can stand up and brazen up to that. Because in NAPTIP, if you do one corrupt practice and you're caught, Act 2 will deal with you. Act 2, we don't care who you are. You face the music. Except you're doing it in hiding and we have not seen. But the day we see it, you face the music. Because if we can stem out corruption from our system, things will work out very well for us. The law will take its course at the right time. Now, cultural practices and gender discrimination, that one I mentioned it before. Cultural practices, this issue of genital mutilation, widowhood practices and all that. Girls in my place don't do this, they do this and all that. Please, in this family, people from this family don't go to school. The boys in this family don't go to school. They stay back to take care of their deities. Who told you? Who told you? Is that taboo in the Bible? It's not there. It's okay. Now, the impact of human trafficking. I think, let me check if I have another slide here. The impact of human trafficking. Before I go into the impact of human trafficking, please, Let me put us through something briefly. Okay. I'll add something to that, root causes of human trafficking. Human trafficking, the causes are grouped into two elaborate groups. The pull factor and the push factor, they are all mentioned here. One of the push factors that take our boys, our children, our men and our women out of Nigeria is search for greener pastures, like I said, going to do. And then another thing that also pulls them is the fact that employers of labor, international labor, people that are working, that have companies outside, they come to us to source for cheap labor. It's a cost. Cheap labor. Come, I'll pay you $20. Come, I'll pay you $10. They know it is cheap if you employ a white by origin. He knows the rights of that country as a person. He knows his rights. He knows how much is supposed to be paid for how many hours of work. But when they pick us, we don't work it according to hours. We just go there and keep working the whole day just for maybe $5 or $3. Cheap labor. Okay, and now go to the next one, which is this projector when no work. Okay. I would want to look at, before I go to the impact of human trafficking, I want to talk about recruitment tactics. I mentioned it in passing earlier, but I have it here as a slide. It's not in your paper, please. I'm sorry. Recruitment tactics has to do with a lot. Traffickers use money, first and foremost, to do what? To lubricate their business, to make it very lucrative. They have money with them, meet somebody they want to traffic, talk to you and give you some pennies, some coins, some notes, and you'll be so happy. Now, another one is job opportunities. The stories they'll tell you, when I say recruitment tactics, what they tell you for you to allow them traffic you is job opportunities with fat salaries. Nigeria is paying you 100,000 with a PhD or 150. Why stay here when you can earn more? Fat salaries. Scholarships. When you see a group of people coming around to recruit young men for scholarships, school-age children, please ask them the source of the scholarship, where they are based, where they are taking those children to. In short, make it a point of commitment to assign somebody to that particular group to see what they are doing. They deceive them with scholarship. You know, a young girl that comes out of secondary school, a young man that comes out of secondary school, wants to be employed, or university wants to be employed, or wants to gain scholarship. My parents don't have money to pay my school fees, so what do? Let me follow this uncle. He's going to do what? Pay my fees for me. Scholarship. By the time they take you out of here, there is no more scholarship for you. Every scholarship should be able to suffice the need where the child is. Don't take the child from Nigeria to Gabon to go and give scholarship. There is no such scholarship in Gabon. Bring that money from Gabon, change it to Nigeria, Naira, and let the scholarship go on here. Except for those in tertiary institutions that you have to confirm from the school that you've been given an appointment, admission. Have your admission letter printed out. You have your name on that admission letter. Make inquiries. Every school outside Nigeria is on Google. Go there and make inquiries before you start moving. Don't follow scholarship and go and die, please. Holiday trips. People are promised holiday trips abroad. When you go there, you never come back again. Some never come back again because their travel documents are seized from them. Every money in their possession is seized, and so they don't have a way of coming back to Nigeria again. Or they come back after passing through a lot. Fake marriage proposals. These days, we have women hooking up with their husbands on the internet. It is very common these days. The other day, a girl that just finished school set is in Malaysia with a mistress that trafficked her. She started calling her schoolmates in Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom State, to send their passports, send their pictures, send things to her, so that they will now come and join her where she is. Unknown to these little ones, about 16 of them, that particular girl was trafficked. And they only make her up and make her wear up very fine and talk to them when they want her to talk to them to come. But after the deed has been done, they push her back to that slave-like condition. And then they'll stay there. When they want her to talk, they will now make a big that look of the white man. She'll talk to them. But we managed to hack that their line based on a tip-off. And those girls were all rescued on their way to Lagos. And then the girl over there, they are tracking her. Madam, the girl has been picked. The madam is at large. These things are happening real every day. Fake football signing up. Come and sign up with a team in UK. I have booked for you. Every sporting activity has a bait. Don't allow anybody use that bait on anybody you know in the course of your life. They sometimes use award-winning competitions to deceive their victims. You won an award as the best English student in the school, so I want to take you abroad to go and do this, please. You've been given an award. Any award that cannot be brought to your secondary school, to the church, to be administered, to be given, to be awarded, should not take anybody outside Nigeria, because those things are happening real every day. Okay, now control mechanisms that they use to control our people. When the victim is successfully recruited and has been moved, they seize their travel documents, will not allow them have the passport, the international passport, or anything to identify them on them. When you see people going in a bus with a lot of young people, they are driving along, and you stop them, and all of them don't have their travel document. Where is your passport? Let me see. You point at the adult. All of them point at the adult. That is a trafficking situation. They are trying to control those people. They don't want them to hold their passport so that they will not be scattered. They will be in one fold until they get to where they are going to. You meet an adult at the airport. Where is your passport? He's with my brother. He's not a brother. That person is the one trafficking this person. So when you see these things, you know them. So they seize all their documents, thereby making them helpless and hopeless. And then we have the next one as intimidation and threat, oath-taking. Once you've been successfully trafficked, recruited, they intimidate you with stories. For the men, they do so many things to the men. For the women, they take their pubic hair, armpit hair from the armpit, their menstrual pads, they do a lot of things, and then make them swear before what is not even alive. Swear and you swear. When you swear, sometimes they slit their fingers and blood will flow into a calabash. The fear is in them now. They cannot tell anybody, even if they are dying. The fear of dying when they are already dead will not allow them to tell you what they are passing through. For some of our young men that have been trafficked that come back to give testimonies, they make you do a kind of masturbation until you bring out the semen from your system. They will now take it and tell you the rest of your generation, your life, depends on what you have wasted. Anything you bring out of your system and throw away can never go back in that form. Remember. So they use that to deceive them. That thing that you brought out from your system is done what holds your future and your entire generation. By the time that is done, even the young men are afraid to say, this is what I'm passing through, because they feel that which has been taken out of their body is their future children, their future family, and their own lives. What kind of thing is that? Because they are not doing it ordinarily, they use other means to do it. People accept foolishly. That's why we say it is better to prevent them from coming to you than allow them come to you and recruit you before you start running away. Because you will never come back the same no matter what. You must have had one scar or the other during the course of trafficking. Recently, we got a call from somebody called from a Fiat. It's a creek off Oron. One small place there, that while they were going towards the Atlantic to the Cameroons, that some bodies were thrown out of the ship, the boat, into the water. What happened? Those ones maybe have been sick and died in the process. So they cannot harvest them because they are dead. They dump the bodies into the water. The same thing happens when they take people, victims across the Sahara Desert, to go to Chad or Niger. See, they hardly go through regular routes. They look for corner ways to take you. Because if they go to the aeroplane, every individual traveling has something for identification. It's not true. So when they want to take you and they've seized all your documents, they don't want to expose themselves to any checking. So they take them to the desert. When water finishes, they carry small water jars like this. As much as the lighter the weight, according to them, the better for you. When the water finishes, Some wee into their gallons and drink. They drink up their pee in the course of traveling across the desert. So when the pee does not come again, when you finish weeing and drinking, weeing, at a point you cannot wee again, they die of thirst. Somebody falls sick and dies in the process of passing through the Sahara. They dump their bodies there, they don't even bury them, for the vultures in the desert to feast on their carcass. That is what is going on to our brothers and our sisters out there. I will soon be done. Social isolation. Once you see somebody living in a compound and a group of people are living in a place and they don't seem to talk to others, no phone calls, nothing, they are just inside there. Suspect that place as a cartel for traffickers. Even in the church, a woman that has children and comes to church alone and keeps the maid in the house, ask questions. Because that maid will have been trafficked for servitude. And like I said, Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State, is highly susceptible to human trafficking because of the nature of our porous borders. People are made to face emotional, psychological trauma. Then the psychological trauma is the one that even lasts longer. People that have emotional trauma can heal their wounds, but over time, psychological trauma, the wounds will heal. But in most cases, in 99 cases, it leads to post-traumatic stress disorder, where you see somebody sitting down in the midst of people, will not talk to anybody, even when he is free. It's like going to the market to buy a fowl that was tied 2 legs together with a rope. When you come home and loosen it, it still stands at one place. Why? Because the person feels he's still bonded, he's still tied. So when a person sits in the midst of you, he doesn't talk, he's so withdrawn, the next thing you see him jerk, as if something just touched him. He would jerk and then realize, oh, nothing is happening, but we're still there. Sometimes you're in a house, you are in a gathering, and you see somebody that sleeps and wakes up at night to scream and shout. It's not just an ordinary nightmare. That person has passed through a lot of psychological trauma that has led to that. An adult wheezes on the bed. That, apart from the natural, when you see adults that wee on the bed, that went for a travel and came back, they wee on the bed not because they are not conscious of themselves. Their fear has gripped them. Their body, soul is tied together to the fear that they had. Before you know it, and spirit, before you know it, he wets the bed without knowing. The same thing goes for a child that has been abused, either sexually abused or abused in any form. They wet the bed. And a lot of other things. When you see you live in a compound, and when you are around, the child is free, playing around. As soon as you want to go out, mommy, please, sister, please don't go. Stay with me. Clinginess, that's trying to cling on you. That child, that person has been abused. When you leave, something happens to that child in that place. Because child abuse is part of human trafficking. It's a sin in human trafficking. It's a crime in human trafficking. Okay, now the impact. The impact of human trafficking starts like, that's why I have mentioned them. Loss of personal freedom. Loss of personal freedom. Every trafficked victim lives under the control of the madam or the master. Sometimes when they take you there, they give you an amount to pay. They carried you here freely and took you there, telling you stories how you're going to enjoy. A while ago, just last year, some girls were picked from Akwa Ibom State to go dance in Lagos State at somebody's birthday, where they will be paid so much money. Those girls got to Lagos State, and they were now taken through another route to Mali. When they got to Mali, they seized everything they had as their travel documents on their way to Mali. That particular woman, an Akwa Ibomite, put the girl in a house as soon as they got there. Whether they ate, I don't know the details. But I have their videos, their audios on this my phone, where they are crying for help. Where two that escaped are talking to them, and they are talking back to the phone. Let Nigerian government come and help them. 20 girls, 2 have escaped, 18 are still there. They say as soon as they got there, the returnees tell her one of them, say as soon as they got there, they got everything from them, gave them skimpy wares to wear, and gave them condoms. Go out there, use the condoms, the money is paid to me. Don't dump the condom away, don't flush it. Bring it in that used state to me. Let me confirm that you actually use. What kind of man, humanity to man is that one? Why will you force, is it not enough that you took them away from their comfort zone? Why will you not give them condoms? Is it by force too? So the girls are suffering there. And they are saying that our girls are littered on the streets of Mali and Malaysia. There are certain streets you go to and you see people on the streets, not sleeping in houses. So they are just dumped there as sex slaves. They were trafficked from here with lofty job promises. So their freedom is lost. They cannot go out free, they cannot talk freely. Then there's another one is educational setback. If somebody is trafficked, the person no longer goes to school. And if you don't go to school, at least to be able to read and write, you cannot do any business successfully. So they are put there. Even if they stay in prostitution or in I don't know how to present asylum. Even if they stay away under this trafficking situation for 20 years and they come back to primary one where they started from. They cannot go further like that. So some of them, when we rescue them and bring them back, we ask them, what do you want to do? They tell us they want to learn trades. We put them into skill acquisition. They learn the trade, and then we empower them. Reverend Sister Antonia is doing a lot for us in empowering. When she goes to do her outreach, we'll bring our victims in, and she'll also empower them for us. So they deprive them of education, and that empowerment thing is by local. And then the next one is social stigma. The victim suffers stigma. The survivor suffers stigma, whether you like it or not. In that particular community where the victim comes from, they will say, you don't remember that girl or that boy that traveled to go and do prostitution. They will not say the way it was, so they will use it again to describe the person. Don't go to that family, that family, they are all prostitutes. Stigma. Okay. Economic exploitation. By the time all the workforce, the young men and women, leave this town to be trafficked outside, who are the future generations? Who is going to work tomorrow for the community to stand well? Nobody, because all of them have been removed. Family disintegration. Sometimes this trafficking could cause parents to, father and mother to quarrel. The man will say, I didn't send you. The woman will say, hey, let her go before you need. The family is scattered. It's no longer united. And risk of being retrafficked. Source country. And then transit country is that they take somebody from Cameroon, pass through Nigeria to enter Chad or every other country. And let me tell us that Nigeria has both land borders and coastal borders with neighboring countries. If you go to Lagos, you can enter Cotonou from there, no wahala. If you come to Akwa Ibom State or Cross River State, you use the water through Ebugu, through Ibono, through Ibaka, through Efiat, and all those places to reach to other countries around here, Malabo, Cameroon, and all that. Once you enter Cameroon, how to travel from there to another country is not a difficult task anymore. And then the destination country, Nigeria is a destination. People are picked from outside, and even people go to Chad to recruit those people there and bring them here. So Akwa Ibom State that we are in is a source country and a transit country. I have not called it destination country yet because we don't have many numbers of people coming in here who have been trafficked. That's the Nigerian situation. So it is our place to ensure that when we see traffickers on the route around us, we try to ask them questions. The way forward is that to defeat human trafficking, my fathers in faith, which you are, and every other person, man, woman, boy, girl, try to stand up to defeat this scourge. It is a scourge because it is quite painful. When you see victims of human trafficking, the stories are told by the scars on their backs, by the physical wounds on their body, by the body which has been destroyed. A young girl was stolen. They now use stealing, adoption from guardianship as a form of trafficking. They see people coming back from school, young girls. That's why we advise young girls, don't walk alone on the streets that are lonely. Make sure you walk in a group. Because once they ask you, the other day I watched they tapped somebody on the shoulder, please, I want to know. The lady turned around and became hypnotized. They took her into the car. It is happening now, especially these days these are our Yahoo boys that have added plus to their Yahoo business. Please, our girls have been taken. A girl was taken from Akwa Ibom State and was picked in one of those bushes in Port Harcourt. She said somebody took her from school when she was coming back from school, and then she never knew herself again. In 5 years, she had given birth to 5 children. So when the person realized that her womb was now bringing out pus, it had rotted, the person threw her away. And then if it were these days of organ harvesting, they will not throw her away. They know she's useless. They will just open up and do what? Pick out the organs that are still alive and good and use it for business and throw her body, her carcass anywhere. So this thing is very serious. It is happening every day. We have cases of child theft, missing people. The way forward is educate your communities. Your church is your community. Your neighborhood is your community. Your village on the heels of human trafficking. The forms it is taken. An old woman somewhere in Ikodekpene had 2 of her grandchildren with her. They're doing, I don't know what they're doing according to what she told me. A lady came up with 2 packs of Indomie. I think I mentioned here before, and said, this is Indomie. Do you have onions? I notice you're hungry, madam. Have you done to with your children? She said, yes. Now my grandchildren, my daughter has gone to the market to sell things so we can eat. She dropped 2 packets of Indomie for the woman. Ma, cook this Indomie for your children. Do you have onions? What concerns an old man with onions in the village? Do you have onions? The woman said no. That she can cook without onions. They said no. The woman said no. Please go and buy onion. Gave her 500 naira. The woman ran, an old woman, through the pathway and entered the next compound. This woman stole these 2 children, not even one. At least leave one for consolation. She packed the 2 of them, 5 years and 3 years, and went away with them till today. We are trying to see how we can do the amber search if we can find them, but we've not found them yet. These things are happening every day. So educate them on what human trafficking is. Let us strengthen laws. Laws have been strengthened though. One of the strengthening of the laws is the creation of NAPTIP, and then making new policies in our 5 Ps. I would have loved to talk about the 5 Ps of NAPTIP, but that will be the tail end in my concluding thought. Protect and empower survivors through rehabilitation and skill acquisition. Engage stakeholders like you. Faith-based organization. This is supposed to be an O, not a P. Schools, traditional rulers, the media. The media is doing a lot these days. Promote values that uphold human dignity and equality, because a lot of people have buried their consciences in acid and they feel it will never come up again, so they can do anything to anybody. And then before I say my concluding thoughts, NAPTIP has 5 Ps they use to fight human trafficking. It is the partnership, like what Reverend Sister Philomena and Reverend Father is doing with me now in his partnership. We talk to people, we partner with people to run programs so that we try to fight human trafficking, get people informed. So that's partnership. There's the prevention. Prevention is the one we give you awareness, like I'm talking to you now. If you allow any member of your family to be trafficked, it means you heard the story but did not believe it. So we go out to do mass awareness creation so that people can believe the stories. You go to tell them in the village, you tell you, did you bring food for us? Why won't we sell our children? It is not right. A child is not a commodity to be sold. A child is a special gift from God. We have the protection, which is when we rescue victims, we arrest offenders and put them in jail. We have a full-fledged legal unit in NAPTIP to fight that. So don't be afraid. When you see a trafficker, you see a trafficking situation, be sure, stand on your feet and call NAPTIP, because you're going to get somebody jailed for wrongdoing. And by that way, you're doing the work of God, which God has assigned you to do. Then we have the one that we talk about, the prosecution. The lawyers and the investigators, they do that. They take you to court, give you 20 years imprisonment, 7 years as the case may be, depending on the nature of your crime. And then the policy. Our policies now, victims of human trafficking in NAPTIP have been engaged in our job. They are now full-fledged staff of NAPTIP. We have two women I know about at the headquarters in the north. So my concluding thought is that human trafficking thrives in silence, where people are keeping quiet. When I talk, I used to give people a word. Ignorance and indifference. Something is happening and it is not my business after all. It is not me. If it is not you, one day to be your sister, to be your cousin, to be a member of your family. Therefore, by truly understanding the SCOURGE, its root causes, its reach, the ruin it has done in society, we must be informed, vigilant, committed to protecting the vulnerable citizens. So together we can break the chains and restore hope to those in bondage. Please, I crave you, consecrated people, Reverend sisters and Reverend fathers, please, can we stand on our feet? Esther, please bring down my bag. Let me bring out card. Oh, I'm not sure it's there. Forget. I'm going to do this, that card, please. We are all going to say no to human trafficking. Can we say it together?
No to human trafficking.
Let us say stop human trafficking.
Stop human trafficking.
Now, thank you very much. Sit down. Sit down. Thank you very much. Please, if you see something, say something. Do not keep quiet. If you see something, do what? Say something. If you keep quiet, would have been dead and gone. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause to Mrs. Ukpabio. We really appreciate her. Thank you so very much. She did not just do justice to the topic. She gave us a first-hand practical example of what transpires in our immediate society. Please, let's jam our hands together as we encourage her. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Ukpabio. We appreciate you. Please, the time is fast spent. We will, if you have any question, we entertain 1 or 2 questions so that we can take this session to a conclusion and we move to the next. Please, you welcome 1 or 2 questions, if there is any, as regards the topic that has just been delivered. All right.
Thank you for this opportunity and for the lecture. We have been enlightened a great deal. A lot of things I didn't know I have been made aware of today, and I'll make effort as much as possible to spread the news to people around me in my community. However, my worry is in all our attempts to stem the tide of trafficking, I hope sufficient effort is made in defense of innocent participants in the act of trafficking. I mean, those who may not have been aware that they are involved indirectly, like a keke man who is made to transport both the trafficker and the victims from one spot to the other. I hope policies are also made to find a way of not giving them excessive punishment because they are what I term innocent participants in the act of trafficking, or a priest who may have made recommendations to someone to adopt a child from a supposed orphanage, not knowing that by that very fact is participating in the act of trafficking. I hope your agency is, in the policies you make, I hope you are considerate towards those I term innocent participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. In NAPTIP, we do our investigations very well. But I have to tell you this, I won't deceive you. I am not here to deceive you. I'm here to say the facts. As soon as you have been caught, innocently, ignorantly, or otherwise, in the acts, recently, we had referral, 9 traffickers and 1 victim. The mother of the baby is a suspected trafficker. The grandmother of the baby, the aunties, the ones who made referrals, at least who they go between, and then the driver. They will all be arrested and detained. First, you'll be detained. And whatever the cell shows you is what you take. We have a cell. I prefer you don't enter our cell than enter and go out to tell the stories. We give you a mattress to lie down on and all that. But that cell is not the same as your bed at home. So you'll be arrested. You'll be scrutinized. Your vehicle will be impounded and seized from you. To even bail yourself out at the point that you have proven innocence is easier. But you see that vehicle that you used to carry human beings like cow, you come back for it and it will take a long time for you to even get your vehicle. Except otherwise, the people involved, I don't know how to put it. It's not easy, but then we used to let them go. At the end of the day, we cannot just pick you. Before you carry somebody, a group of people from somewhere, ask them, who are you? Where are you taking them to? Don't just go and do business because you want to do business. Somebody calls you, drive all the way down. Come and pack people you don't know. What if you're packing armed robbers with guns in their bags? I don't know whether you understand. So the driver has no innocence before the law. Ask questions. In this matter itself, the woman that gave birth to the child was at Okobo. The baby was on her way to Lagos or to Port Harcourt. So why will you carry an infant in your car without asking them, where is the mother of this child? That's why we go to motor parks to educate them. We go to places to educate them. Before you are declared innocent, you will not suffer small. That's the truth. And then the Reverend Father that stays in the cathedral, like, is that what you asked? To give recommendation. How much of that person did you know? Are you meant to trust everybody like yourself? Are you meant to trust everybody like yourself? Don't you know an officer like me can be a trafficker? After talking here, I'll go and do business. And then you give recommendation. Before you make your recommendations for anybody to go and adopt a baby, let the person go to Ministry of Women Affairs or the relevant body, not just to the motherless home. Get a form, fill the form, go to the right process, adopt your child. When the noise shall arise tomorrow, you bring out your adoption documents and then you have been cleared. Even if anything happens, it was a due adoption. Anything to the motherless baby's home to go and pick baby is trafficking too, because if you don't go to the due process, the actual channels, it means you are also defaulting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the speaker. Please, do we have another question? We can entertain one other question if there is any. In the absence of no other question, please let's put our hands together once again for Mrs. Ukpabio for that very informative and educative presentation. Please, may I invite Reverend Father Emmanuel to come in for the next segment of this.
Thank you very much. Yes, we've had a very interesting session. The next on the agenda is group discussion. So we are going to share ourselves into just 2 groups. And we will attend to just 2 questions. Each group will attend to the 2 questions. So I will do that quickly, please. Beginning from group 1 and group 2. Once I give your number, you group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2, group 1. Father Fan, please, group 2. Group 1. Touch him. Touch him. Father Paul, group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2. Group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2, group 1, group 2. Hello, sister, group 1, Sika, group 2, group 1, group 2. I'll be in group 1. Sister Philo, you'll be in group 2. Group 1, group 2. Group 1, ma, group 2. And the secretary, you are in group 1. All right, please, just before we recess for the group discussion, I crave your indulgence. Can all of us please come forward for a group photograph, please? Thank you. Please, before we recess for the group discussion, all of us should step forward here on the podium for group photograph. After the group photograph, we all go to our different groups. And the question is in the timetable. The question is in the timetable. Please, can we step forward here for a group photograph? Thank you. Everyone. Please, can we come forward, please? Hurry up a bit before the lunch will be cold. Don't worry, I'll do it. Thank you. If you see something, say something. All right, please. So group one participants, please, by my right hand side and your left. Group 2 participants by my left hand side, please. Group 1, stay by the, Group 1, you take my right. Group 2, you take my left. Please, we have just 10 minutes. We have just 10 minutes, and our time starts now. No, they just, okay, they should write a secretary. Yeah, they should have a secretary. So at the end of the day, they give us. There's nothing, yes, okay. Please, our time starts now. Each of the groups, you answer those questions, and we should have a secretary who will minute the discussion. So at the end of the day, you submit the discussions to us. Either give it to me or to Sister Philo. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, my people. Make una listen. I won't tell una of the good things wey God don do for me. This one na 3 months gospel gbedu. Na Uncle Sly, one mic. I mean, so solid. Na dem dey bring una this one. Happy listen.
Okay. I don't come again, no. I'm the Bethlehem preacher. Soup way sweet na money cook. Plus the style way mama put. Song way sweet na Papa God. Plus the rhythm way Christmas. My own a day here to thank God and say, you too much, yeah. Fly when no get legal advice, you go soon follow dead body by. Far when no hear simple instruction, you go soon dance here for mama soup. Person wait up say God is no good. Sorry you don't miss some. My own a day here just to thank God and say, nah go day. Anything I get to Papa, oh. Even the house when I dey live, oh. pass when I did drive, oh. Plenty food for my table, oh. I've been the wake up in the new dawn. I begin the thing waiting you don't do. Some guys they sleep like fufu back. Some don't cry before they wait. Papa, you don't get everything. Now only night down where you never get. Because you know they sleep no slumber. You stand attention, settle right wait. Now here I don't come to tell you, Papa. Hey, I didn't ask you God to give me. Waiting I go do make I get a batch up.
Now him you give me spanner to walk home. You give me pen to write home. You leave me with guitar. I'm sure to play radio to radio. Now him you give me spanner to walk. You give me pen to write home. You leave me with guitar. I'm sure to play radio to radio. Every day, everything I do, oh, oh, oh.
Even the clothes when I dey wear, oh. Even the watch when I dey tie, oh. My shine shoe call.
Oh yeah, my people, make we take traditional. Oh yeah, my people, make una listen. I want.
Not on the curb, all for me, all for me. Shed your blood, Papa, all for me, all for me. The air breathing, no Lord, you gave to me, you gave to me. Hearing in me, oh Papa, you cool women, Imama, why I no go serve you? You cool women. Give me a time why I no go serve you. I'm my oh Papa, Samuno oh Papa, Papa.
There is a fountain filled with blood, drawn from Emmanuel's vein, and sinners plunge beneath that flood, lose all the guilty stain. I was blind, he made me to see. I was lost, and he found me. I am covered by the blood of Jesus, my liberty. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. A liberty from God. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. A liberty from God. What a friend we have in Jesus. sins and grief to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, less pain we bear. Oh, because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. But I have a liberty. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. A liberty from God. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. I have a liberty. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. Oh my Lord, never, never abandon me. I am yours. Let your love hasten to meet me. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. Oh my Lord, never, never abandon me. I am yours. Let your love hasten to meet me. Lord, I cry unto thee. Listen to my voice when I call. Let my prayer come before you. My eyes are unto thee, and my spirit yearns for you. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. Oh my Lord, never, never abandon. Let your love hasten to meet me. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. Never, never abandon me. I am yours. Let your love hasten to meet me. From the rising of the sun, down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all the nations by His glory. My lips will magnify your name. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. Oh my Lord, never, never abandon me. I am yours.
message for you. For God has changed your name to a miracle. For you were nothing, but He made you something. We were dead in sin, but He gave us new life through His Son, Jesus Christ, that we might have life and have it in abundance. Oh, I am a miracle child.
I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child. And I remain a miracle child.
I am a miracle child, because I'm wonderfully made, and I am prayerfully made. Belong to you. Favor is my name. Victory is mine. You change my mourning into dancing, and my sorrows into laughter. You gave me food when I had no food. You clothed me when I had no clothes. You gave me shelter when I had no home. You gave me hope when I had no hope. You lifted me when I was nobody. Hey, and you
3 minutes remaining. 3 minutes remaining.
Almighty Father, you are a miracle working God. You delivered Job from the hands of the devil, and you made him a miracle child. You delivered Anna from barrenness, and you made her a miracle child. You delivered Elijah from the hands of King Ahab, and you made him a miracle child. You called Isaac, and you made him a miracle child. You called Moses, and you made him a miracle child. You called Jacob, and you made him a miracle child. You called Samuel, and you made him a miracle child. You delivered me, and you made me a miracle child. I am a miracle child, a miracle child, a miracle child. Favor is my name. That is what I am. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child, and I remain a miracle child.
I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child, and I remain a miracle child. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child. I am a miracle child, and I remain a miracle.
All right. Please We even added 2 extra minutes. So can we round up, please? Thank you. Can we round up, please? Thank you. The group discussion is over. We are moving into the next item. All right, please, briefly, I am going to time. Group 1, the secretary of Group 1, please, you step forward and summarize in 5 minutes your group discussion. Group 1, please. The secretary of Group 1. Secretary of Group 1, please. The secretary of Group 1, please. Mrs. Agnes. The microphone is yours and your time begins now. The secretary of Group 1, please. Group 1, please. The secretary of Group 1, Mrs. Agnes. All right. Thank you. As we disperse from our group, may I humbly invite to the podium the secretary of Group 1. While the secretary of Group 2, you get ready. All right. Please, the secretary of Group 2, if you are ready, please come forward. Thank you. Please, can we have one house, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. The participants in Group 2, we brainstormed on everything we have listened to today, the two papers presented, and we began with the second question: what can we do as an individual and as a parish/chaplaincy? As individuals, we agreed that we will and should create more awareness using social media platforms, traditional institutions, example town hall meetings and in the village squares, advocacy visits, we visit to churches, etc. Also to provide relief materials to survivors, counseling for victims and survivors, and then to report suspicious activities or movement in our neighborhoods or communities to agencies such as NAPTIP or other relevant security agencies. And as a parish, we resolve to create awareness and sensitization campaigns in our various parishes, chaplaincies, and communities, and then to empower these survivors to give hope through skills acquisition program and set up with small scale enterprises. To question 1, how do we understand migrant refugees and the role of the church, which was the first topic today? We said that a migrant is a person who moved from one place to another voluntarily, and we underlined that word voluntarily. In the case of an involuntary movement, this could be a case of trafficking or displacement. A refugee is mostly a migrant who moves as a result of hardships or crises in his native country or land. And we agree that the issues of migrants and trafficking are not far-fetched, but found within and among us. They live with us, they stay with us. So we should be alert. Asylum seekers, we understood, are migrants who are awaiting proper certification as refugees. And it was discovered that there is little confidence in law enforcement agents with regards to reporting of suspicious activities. It was told that NAPTIP offers some form of protection for whistleblowers, so there was no need for worry. And that transporters sometimes could be accidental accomplices in trafficking because they are seeking their daily bread and they may not have sufficient information as to who is contracting them to move victims of this human trafficking. And that officials of NAPTIP are at risk of attack from perpetrators who may be connected to well-placed individuals in the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Secretary of Group A. Please let the Secretary of Group B also.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Reverend Fathers, very Reverend Fathers, and our Reverend Sisters. Group 1, having brainstormed, we came up with the following facts: that human trafficking, migrants, and refugees should be seen beyond physical. That we should think of the religious migrants, knowing very well that our destination here on earth will take us to somewhere, and where we will land is where we'll be. That we are also migrants. No one knows where we will land. When you are looking at the migrants and the refugees, you should see the face of Christ in them. We also came up with a point that trafficking, initially some participants said they used to see migrants and refugees as foreign phenomenon. But today, after this workshop, they've realized that migrants and refugees are within us. After today's workshop, they've gotten better understanding between migrants, asylum seekers, and refugees. Their final destination as a migrant matters. While stretching a helping hand to the refugees, we should also realize that they also cause mayhem to the society. Therefore, while giving them this hand, while giving them these helping hands, for them to have the sense of belonging, we should also be security conscious. Another point is that at times we have doubt on trustworthiness of the security personnel. Solution to this, we should always try to make live video and also make use of social media as a backup. Having referred some cases to the security personnel, we should not stop there. We should do what we call follow-up. That follow-up is the key to know. The major key of the follow-up is to know the welfare or the agency we should refer cases to. Not all cases should be referred to police. That we should also identify other agencies like the NAPTIP, human rights, etc. As a parish priest, as a leader, what should come first to us is that we should practice a Christ-like leadership, which comes with responsibility, putting in our best. When you report a case, do well to follow up. Then do well to distinguish between clarity, the referral method, which one should you refer to. Therefore, traditional rulers should not be excluded. They should also be involved, because most of these happenings occur in the rural environment as well. Solutions. Some of the solutions we came up with, that at pastoral council, the parish priest should do well to sensitize the parishioners with a language they will understand more. Social media should also be involved. Mental health humanitarianism should also be included. By so doing, the refugee and migrants units should work in pari passu with Mobile Manna Foundation to help checkmate the mental health of these migrants and refugees because of their past experiences. We should also give space to life, empower them. Having empowered them, we should do well to reintegrate them with their family members. Do not give them space to live forever. That list has led to many communal crises in the society today. Thank you.
A round of applause to the secretary of Group A. That was a good presentation. Please, let's give yourselves a round of applause for all the participants that joined in the group discussion. At this point, let me also welcome Father Emmanuel and Sister Philomena to the podium for evaluation of the day and closing remarks as well.
Okay, for the evaluation, Sister will distribute a form to all of us, and you just fill that form. While she's distributing that form, let me seize this opportunity to a kind of a closing remark, but I will see it more of a vote of thanks. Dearest priest of the Catholic Diocese of Uyo, ladies and gentlemen, and all the participants of this workshop, I would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to the success of this workshop. Our sincere appreciation goes to the local ordinary of Uyo Diocese, Most Reverend Dr. John Ebebe Aya. I also want to thank Daughters of Charity in collaboration with Conrad Hilton for funding this workshop. I thank the speakers and the facilitators for sharing their expertise and insights. I thank also in a very special way all of you, the participants and the attendees, for your active engagement and participations. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your commitment. I pray God to guide us and lead us as we embark on this war, because it is a war against human trafficking, against illegal migration. God bless you.
Thank you, Father. Please, let's give Father a round of applause. Thank you very much, Father, for that remark.
I will not fail to thank in a very special way Very Reverend Father Andinyene Paulinus. In short, it goes nationwide. All those that are going through watching the live stream, they comment the sound. You can see the sound. It is of international standard. Thank you so much, Father. I'm very grateful. The unit is very grateful. Thank you, and God bless you. May I humbly invite the Dean of Ndonebom Dinari, Very Reverend Father Dr. Patrick Umosen, for the closing prayer. But immediately after the closing prayer, by my left hand side, which in turn becomes your right hand side, you just move up to the refectory for a heavy lunch. Thank you.
Trust anyone in utter confusion. Strength from my Jesus flows.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please, thank you very much for all the participants. At this point, we will give, before the closing prayer, we'll invite individuals to get the certificate of participation. Please, when you hear your name, please kindly come forward for your certificate. Please, Father Paul Mendy. Reverend Father Paul Mendy, please come forward. Please, a round of applause to him. Congratulations, Father. Please, Father Christopher Yang, please come forward. While Father Basio Diong Edet should be on standby. Basiedis Usum Edet. Please, Ambassador Soma dates, please come. Reverend Father Nicholas Efanga, please come forward. And I'm sorry. Father Nicholas Efanga, please come. Please, very Reverend Father Dominic Udosen, please. Very Reverend Father Dosen. Father Samuel Okon, Reverend Father Dominic Udosen, very Reverend Father. Thank you. Father Samuel Aloysius Okon, please. Father Titus Alphatan, please. CSSP. Please, Reverend Father Austin Nidobo. Okay. Reverend Father Aguaroye Chris, CSSP. Father Ephraim Okwe. Reverend Father Edidion Ekefre. Reverend Father Ndiene Ndieno. Father Ndieno Dofia. Reverend Father Anthony Okon, please. Reverend Father Victor Wogo. Reverend Vincent Yodo, please. Very Reverend Dr. Patrick Umosen, please. Reverend Father Dominic Akbakman, please. Very Reverend Father Malaki Akman, please. Reverend Father Damian Oto. Our Reverend Father Anthony Pius Edet. Pius Edet. Reverend Father Anthony Innocent Timothy, please. And Reverend Father Ignatius Johnson. Thank you very much. Please, Father Monson, please, for the closing prayer.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious.
And may we pray, may we rise, my dear brothers and sisters. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for gathering us. We had said the opening prayer and we ask for your assistance, O Lord. And we have realized that you have really assisted each and every one of us. The knowledge is good. And then our human existence is well brightened by this workshop. Therefore, we pray for all the migrants. We pray for all the refugees. And we pray for victims of human trafficking. We ask you, O Lord, for those who have not been served for now, may they be served. And for those who have been served, may they realize their habitation and come back to live with other human beings in a very comfortable way. Bless each and every one of us for the encouragement you have given to us, especially the priests and the religious, while we disperse to a different destination. Give us that power, that vigor, so that we may also help in the fight against these menaces in our society. Help us, O Lord, for we rely on you for help. We make our prayers through Christ our Lord. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. The Lord be with you, and may the blessings of the Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you now and forevermore.
Thank you, Father. Thank you very much. Please, you return the evaluation report to Sister. I will proceed for lunch.
Oh, my sweet Jesus, I love you. I want to live my life for you. I want to know you more and more. Oh, my dear Lord, show me the way. Oh Lord, my heart beats for you. My soul is longing for you. My soul thirsts for your love. Just as I am, take me, oh Lord. Jesus, I love you. All I have is yours. Yours I am, and yours I want to be. Do with me whatever you will. Oh, dearest Mother Mary, you are the mediatrix of grace. Teach me to love you more and more, and help me to love your Son. Oh, Holy Spirit, Lord of light, sweet unction and true love, help me to love Jesus Christ, for this